Oh, whew, we late. What in the world? This one fell off. Um, Hold on. Up. This one messed up over here. So we got to change this one. We got to change this one. Got to change this one. Got to change this one. Got to change it. Here we go. I'm already late. Starting out with issues. Starting out with some issues. It's all right. We're gonna be right back on it. I'm so glad everybody can be here. Hey, remember to share this thing. We're gonna share. Um, Share the videos. Share the content. That's interesting. Um, Let me get this one back on. All right. There we go. Getting started. Late as we are late. Getting started today. I wanted to do something over here, but we're gonna. So today, of course, we're talking about relationships, and the conversation today we're going to discuss common law marriage versus legal marriage, the pros and cons, which one you think is better. Should the government come back with the common law marriage, but how you can still pretty much establish that without having to have the government intervention versus legal marriage, and the concepts behind both of them. The concept behind both of them. Like are we and then hopefully we can get some people to come on with us and have that discussion. Uh, and then we're going to also talk about protecting the relationship versus being just insecure in a relationship. I've experienced both. I'm very big about protecting my relationships. A lot of people aren't big about that, but first, so we can talk about either one at either point in time. Just based on you guys' comments. Continue to like and share, like and share, like and share, like and share. Send if you support the channel on TikTok, then share it, like it. If you're on YouTube, share it, like it. If you're giving donations, I appreciate that. Same thing on stars on Facebook, but share the video. I definitely want a cross section of comments from people concerning this one. Uh, oh, that's interesting. I want to. No, I can do that, but not for this one. No. Yeah, so the first thing, and the common law marriage conversation is comes about because on my podcast yesterday, that question was brought up of what do I think about common law marriage. We had a brief little discussion about that one, but I want to go more in detail about that today. And then, hey, Bamika, how you doing? Kenneth, how you doing? We're going to have a deeper conversation about that today than the brief one that we had on my other podcast yesterday. Also, while I was thinking about that one, I was thinking about the fact of people the difference between being protective in a relationship and insecure in a relationship, especially when it comes to men. Because I think it's mostly the man's duty to ensure that the relationship is protected. But oftentimes that protection can be seen as insecurity. And I want to break down what about a man can be, what is it that makes it insecure and what is it that makes it simply protecting the relationship. Energy Shaft 2020 on YouTube. Both marriages vary from state to state. Yeah, they do. So let's first start this discussion off talking about common law marriage versus a licensed marriage, right? What's basically the difference between the two? So used to, most states would allow for, if you have been living in a household with somebody, and I believe it's like 7 or 8 years, then you were considered a common law marriage and could go through the process of divorce and dealing with children and everything else, go through the legal course in the same way that you would do with a licensed marriage. Thank you, Bramika. 7 years. Now, I think common law marriages should still be in place in most states, mainly because it offers certain levels of protection for both the man and the woman, and as well as the children. Uh, you'll be able to still distinguish between properties and financial things that occurred during the marriage that both persons may be deserving of, and especially now in a time frame where um, men and women have a lot more parity when it comes to financial matters. Now, back in the day, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, that sort of thing, everything was like huge gap in between men and women as far as finances. So it was something that allowed for, if a woman stayed with a man for a long period, for over 7 years, she was financially protected in certain ways. You still should have something like that in the system today, where if you're together with somebody for a certain period of time and you have grown and built a house together, built a business together, purchased property, that sort of thing. Yes, depending upon how those things are set up, you can still divvy them up properly. But when there's only one person's name on stuff, therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. Uh, but I also, the common law marriage versus the licensed marriage was a huge discussion that I had with some of my aunts a while back, because it's about the spirit of what is marriage. What is marriage? You know, especially here in America, licensed marriage didn't become a thing until become a thing until income taxes, federal income taxes started. So it basically came down to the money. If you think about it, it comes down to the money. A marriage license comes down to money. Who gets what as far as money is concerned? Beyond that, the government really has no part in it. If you wanted to be able to claim income taxes, if you want to be able to claim deductions from federal income taxes after the 1938, I believe, 39, you had to have a legal marriage license in order for you to be able to claim that. Now, it's also legal intrusion. It allowed the government to be able to track you and legally intrude upon your life, although some people are able to use that to find out who their ancestors were and that sort of thing. So it has its pros and cons on both sides of the fence as to, what the benefits are and what the negative aspects of each one of them. In our world today, a lot of people, especially a lot of people, both old and young, they are not legally getting married as quickly as people like when I was first coming up. Your ass got legally married. There was no question about doing a common law marriage. There was no question about shacking up. Shacking up had this religious and social connotation to it as well. There's negativity to it if you just lived with somebody. But the odd thing about it, I know people who supposedly shacked up, and their shacking up lasted longer than people who were legally married. So what really is marriage? And that was the conversation I was having with my aunts some years ago. And for them, it was, you got to have that license. You got to have that license. You ain't married unless you got that license. You ain't married unless you got that license. But them being very religious and me being not non-religious and spiritual, my contention was that marriage is the commitment that two people make towards each other, that it has absolutely nothing to do with a ceremony, nor does it have anything to do with a piece of paper. But that's what people thought. People were thinking. People were just getting married. People didn't think that you were married unless you got a piece of paper. Companies used to not give benefits to someone unless you had the piece of paper. But in today's world, companies have realized that they will give benefits, health benefits, death benefits, those sorts of things to anybody that lives in your house. You don't have to be married to get health benefits from most companies anymore. All you have to do is live in the same house. So literally, other than Social Security, what's the benefit of being legally married? I want to hear some of you guys' opinions and thoughts on it. other than Social Security, meaning that if you're married to somebody, whoever dies first, and you're legally married, you have the ability to claim their Social Security. Now, I want to tell you guys, there's a little caveat there. So let's say you, and I know of a situation just like this right now. Let me give you two situations where Social Security you can get messed up. I know of one situation where a couple got married. They broke up. They've been broken up they were broken up for like 30, 40, 50, 30, 40 years. But they never got divorced. The gentleman went on and he common law shacked up marriage with another woman for about 25 years. When he died, the woman who was shacked up with him could not claim his Social Security. The woman who had married him 40 years prior, but never got legally divorced, was able to claim his Social Security benefit and still gets them to this day because she's still alive. I think that's jacked up. That's a flaw in the system. That person should be able to say, hey, wait, I was with this man for 20 plus years. I was with him till he passed on. I should be able to get his Social Security benefits. But she can't because she doesn't have that piece of paper. Legally, I get it. But morally, I think it's wrong as hell. That's a flaw in the system. You shouldn't be able to claim somebody's Social Security and you ain't been with them for 30, 40 years. That's a huge flaw in the system. And the only paperwork that affects that is the marriage license. Now, if you are with somebody for 30, 40 years and that person dies and you never got the legal paperwork, they will not allow you to claim that person's Social Security. So the woman who was with him for all that time, she has no recourse to challenge the Social Security benefits of the man that she spent his last 20 plus years with. So that's a flaw in the system. Let me tell you another part of this system, though, that many people may not know about. And I only know about it because I know another couple that's in this situation. I know a couple, they've been married for about 26, 27 years, right? They're in the process of getting a divorce. The man, his health is not that great, right? He doesn't have great health. Let's say he remarries and he's only married to the other person for say 10 years or 5 or 7 years, something like that. It's a low number. He's only married about 5 or 7 years to another person. And then he passes away, which is very likely with this person because his health sucks. Did you know that the woman who was married to him for the 20 plus years both can claim his Social Security, but the woman who was married to him for 27 years, she would get the larger portion of his Social Security. All because she got a marriage license. That thing back there keeps making noise, making me think somebody's walking at my door. But that person will be able to get the Social Security where the other person won't be able to get it. Or they'll be able to get the majority, the bulk of the Social Security. So when it comes to a marriage license, really the only benefit I see is the ability to claim someone's Social Security. Now, there are other situations that makes a bit of a difference, being that when you're dealing with government things, like I'm a veteran, I get VA. If you have to have a legal license in order to get the extra bump for being married. You don't get a bump for being, just in the household together. But that's not the majority of people. The majority of people don't have some situation like that. So in most cases, Social Security benefits are the only reason that I can understand anybody getting a marriage license. Beyond that, there really isn't a reason. to get the government involved in your relationship. There's no other reason. Because let's think about it. If you have shared bank accounts, well, first of all, everybody should have a will. I know most of y'all don't have a will. Most people don't. And it's not nothing against y'all in general, but most people never write out a will. So, Triggered Farm Tima, unless you make a comment, I'm not and letting you come in. You got to make a comment, so I know you're not trying to do them little stupid battle things. But I really do want to hear you guys' opinion, though. But unless you have that license, made me lose my train of thought. A will. So everybody should write a will anyway. If you write a will, and you can say who gets what of your property that's identified as you. If you have a bank account, all you have to do is have that other person as a signer on your bank account. You don't necessarily have to have a marriage license to claim their bank account, after they pass on. If you have property. Now, I always advise couples that when you buy property, the mortgage is always in, if you can do it, the mortgage should only be in one person's name. But the title paperwork should be in both persons' name. That's how you protect each other. That way, if someone passes on, the title is still in the other person's name and they have rights over that property. The second reason, and that keeps people from trying to, like children or uncle, cousins, brothers, sisters, from trying to take it. They can still take it to court, but they're most likely going to lose. So you want to have the title paperwork in both names. The reason why you only want to do the mortgage in one person's name, because if for some reason the property needs to be refinanced and the person who's financing the mortgage credit is not good enough to get it refinanced, maybe it went from 7% down to 4% on the interest rate, and you want to just save that money, save all that interest, you might want to go and refinance that house or that property, but that person can't do it. Well, then the other person can, because they're not on the primary mortgage. Or if everything go to hell in a handbasket, and one person has to file bankruptcy, it only affects one person's credit. It doesn't affect the other person's credit, and then they can refinance the house in the other person's name. So when you do a mortgage, you only do the title work in both people's name, but you don't do both. Energy Shift 2020 said he actually went through that with the house. So, and it's the best case situation. I didn't know that. I didn't really know that. Think about that the first house that I bought back in 1998, the first time I ever bought a house. And so it was in both persons' name. And when a business venture that I went through pretty much shit the bed, you financed the loan. Yeah, exactly. When it shit the bed, we had no other recourse. We had to beg, borrow, and not steal, but we had to beg and borrow in order to get the house out of foreclosure. But after that, any house purchase, one person's name. Any major purchase, whether it was a car or anything, one person's name, but you do the title work in both couples' name. So you don't need a marriage license to separate property or to protect property. You get a will, you finance things correctly. Both names were on the title, but I financed exactly. During the divorce, she couldn't afford it, so I was awarded the house. There you go. And that just comes down to affordability, as far as she not being able to stake claim on the house, but her name being on the title, you just then have to go through the process of changing the title paperwork if you get divorced. Now, when it comes to other people talk about you want that marriage license because if the person is on their, they're in the hospital, they are incapacitated, who has rights over that person and all that sort of thing. It's called a will, and a living will at that. Why even give somebody a choice? To me, and I'm gonna say I've said it on many videos, so that in itself is one thing. I don't want, if I'm brain dead, let me go. Frozen, let it go. What if you're married abroad? different countries got different rules, different laws. So you would have to look at what that country's laws are concerning common law versus licensed marriage. How does wills work in other countries? So when it comes to other countries, you just have to research how theirs work to see what the best case scenario is. But the least amount of intrusion you can have from the government in your marriage is the best situation for me, in my opinion, is best. Oh, married abroad but living in the U.S. with property owned. Well, if you're living in the U.S. and you own property in the U.S., it's still going to follow U.S. laws. So the U.S. law is going to, if it's one of the most countries, marriage licenses are respected by the United States, so that it will be accepted that you two are married, as far as the United States government is concerned. So you still should be able to claim their Social Security, and, if they pass away before you, and then all the other entitlements that come with a marriage license is there. But even if you didn't have that, there are other paperwork you can have. You can get powers of attorney over the person, which is just a piece of paper, and you get it notarized. So you can have powers of attorney as far as health care of a person, financial care of a person. You can get powers of attorney. What you're doing then is that you're establishing what you two want and taking it out of the hands of a judge who may arbitrarily do things based on how they feel, right? A lot of judges make decisions based on how they feel, and as long as their feelings are within the law, they'll do it. I would hate to have a judge who had got a divorce, and let's say, since I'm a man, I'm gonna use a woman. I would hate to have a judge who was in an ugly divorce with a man, and then she's pissed because she felt like she got, screwed over. And here I am standing in front of her, just trying to protect my stuff, trying to protect me. But she's so pissed that she just run over me, get her a pound of flesh that she couldn't get from her ex-husband. You see what I'm saying? So you never know who you're gonna get. Thankfully, I've never had a problem when I got divorced. But when you got a bunch of contracts, the judges basically have to abide by those contracts. If the contracts are stating, who has power of attorney, who owns the property, who's going to have the car, all these different things, it's easy. It's easy. Hey, there's my sister over there on Facebook. Hey, Wendy. And she's gone. But it's easier when that's the situation, when you have other paperwork. And then the government doesn't have the ability to choose what's good or bad for the couple. So I would just lean into that, to that aspect of it. So for me, common law marriage, my main reason is I don't want the government involved. The only reason that I would get the marriage license is so that, well, one, I'm a veteran, so that offers opportunity. That's a whole nother level. So I would, because there are a lot of veteran opportunities and veteran coverages that she would get for me being a veteran. And then there's the Social Security part. So I lean more to a legal licensed marriage for me, simply because of that. But the commitment of marriage ain't got shit to do with that piece of paper. It has nothing to do with that piece of paper. All right. That is just a legal document for government intrusion. But as far as the commitment, I have family members who they've been living together for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and they are more committed, and they are married, in my opinion, because they are committed to one another. They are committed to their relationship, because it is just as easy to leave a relationship whether you have that piece of paper or not. If a person wants to leave, they're going to leave. A piece of paper won't hold them. The young ladies talking married abroad. Anytime when I was dating, one of the things I would tell a person is that because I cannot live the rest of my life in America. It's just an impossibility. It's not going to happen. But I told one person, a marriage will not keep me. I told this to a person I was married to who knew that my plans were to leave this country. So I was like, don't date me if you got to stay here in America. After we got into the marriage, this person tells me that now I can't just leave America. I got to think about her. And I was like, I told you in the beginning that is part of my standards and part of my plan. And I told her that a marriage will not keep me in America. I will leave you and go where I want to go, because the level of to decrease my stress levels, to live my life more happily. I'm not staying here, and you should not have married me if that was your thought. People are always trying to change somebody when they think that, oh, if I marry you, I can change you. But not many couples have that kind of a discussion when they're just dating. And you should have these discussions before the emotions get caught up, before you start, being all emotionally connected to people and start, you start making dumbass decisions because of your emotions. Because a lot of people make emotional decisions without logical thought behind them. So you want to be able to make these kind of decisions without the emotions. So this is why you should be upfront from the very beginning of any relationship, as far as who you are, what your expectations are, how you want to be treated, where you want to live. Like how many of y'all actually have that conversation about where you want to retire or where would you like to live if you already know that you don't want to stay where you are? And even if you don't know, just the possibilities. Do you have the conversation? If my job requires, if there's a job opportunity or my job wants to transfer me to, another state, how you feel about leaving, whatever state you're in and going to another state or another country? You should be able to draw up your bylaws to govern your marriage. Both parties sign it and rock out. If you break the rules, you know the punishment. Exactly. Well, me and Energy Shift, we are two of a kind. You should. You should be able to do that. Now, this is going to sound hypocritical. What I need you to make a comment before you come on to my TikTok there. Because I want to know why you want to come on. This is going to sound a bit hypocritical. What I don't like are prenuptial agreements. I don't like the financial prenuptial agreement, because then you turn the marriage into just a financial contract. Right. Now, I know marriages have financial aspects to it. I am not in denial of that. But when you ask me for a prenuptial agreement, for me, it turns the dial in my head. Because now every aspect of the marriage, every financial aspect of the marriage is going to be separate. We're not going to engage in financial unity without paperwork at this point. So if we were starting a business together, it's a financial contract. If, I got to write it down, I got to have a financial contract. If we're going to, if I need some money for my business, or you need some money for yours, or just any large sum of money that needs to be moved for one person's needs that doesn't really involve both of us, I'm going to need some paperwork. I'm going to need a return on my investment, because now that's what the relationship has turned into when it comes to money. Yes, a prenuptial agreement sends up red flags, and it does. And some people tell me that because I own business, oh, you should always have a prenuptial agreement because you don't want her to be able to take from what you got. All right, let's be real. If I marry somebody today, you know what I'm talking about. If I marry somebody today and then 6 months later we break up, no judge is going to give her 50% of this business. But if I married her today, and 20 years from now, I've grown this cigar lounge into a multinational company, or just we've grown it and it's grown to 10, 12 locations. She deserves portions of this company because she would have been there through the growth. She would have been there through the time. She would have been there through the helping or whatever else that occurs. So she would deserve a portion, a payout, or whatever it is, whatever we can come to an agreement of, because she was with me when the company was just this one location. But if we grew it together and it became 12 locations, 15 locations, she deserves a piece of the additional location of the growth, because she's been a part of it. Even if she was just making sure that I came home and it was peaceful, she deserves a part of it. So I don't see a reason for a prenup. And I'm the kind of person that I would be like, okay. And I know this is true because I've done it. Where I started a business and the relationship broke up, and I was like, you know what? You deserve a fair share of the value of the company. And I didn't fight it. I didn't try to say that I started it, I built it, I did, 99% of the work. I put in the majority of the money. No, I didn't care about all that. It was like, no, you know what? You was there, in the trenches with me when I first started. You deserve a portion. So I had no problems with that. So a prenuptial agreement, nah. Nope, can't do it. So that would be a red flag to me. You're now making the marriage just into legal paperwork. I don't know what the big eyes are for. The smile face with the big eyes. I don't know what that means. If you want to join in on this conversation on TikTok or Facebook people, I know who you are, so y'all can I don't have to check out y'all. But on TikTok, you need to state why you want to come on here, because I get too many of these people trying to do this battle thing. It's kind of stupid. If she supported you, why not give 50? If she was a horrible wife, maybe 20%. And you're right about that one. I've had people in my life that when it comes to my business, or comes to like they battle me, they complain, they fuss, they fight, they made it more difficult for me to run my company. So if they had been with me from the inception of the business, or even jumped in, but they gave me hell for 10, 15 years, nah, you ain't getting 50%, because you made it more difficult. If I only got 5 shops, I could have, if you were beneficial to the marriage, we might have 20 shops. But if you gave me hell, no. Which also leads me into the other part of this conversation, which is the difference between protecting versus an insecure relationship. I know I got started real late today, so I got to get into that second one as well, because I want people to be able to talk about both of them. There's a difference between protecting the relationship and being insecure. Vanessa says she thinks prenups are good. Why? I mean, I'm curious as to why you think prenups are good. Let's see for this. I don't know. Can you come on and tell us why, Vanessa? Or are you like at work or something? You really can't do it. But prenups can be, there are people, they got like millions of dollars. Those are usually the main ones who will get it. Or you got one person is grossly way beyond the other person as far as finances and properties and ownerships and that sort of thing. But in most cases, that person wasn't there when you built it. The judge is not going to allow that person to take your stuff, But if y'all have been together for a long time, that person deserves a portion of it. But I just think prenups set a bad standard in the relationship. And if I have when I did have what's up, Errol? How you doing, Errol? Appreciate the donation, Errol. Errol always coming through with that. Just about to drop off something in the collection plate, as always. It's good to see. Earl be killing me with the collection plate. Uh, Errol, not Earl. Sorry, Errol. I always call him Earl when I first see his name. But yeah, I just can't do. As soon as you tell me that, as soon as we do that, well, now that would just be a red flag. I tried the prenuptial agreement, and it was bothersome because we got a car together, and the car was in her name because she had better credit at the time. But I was like, nope, we're gonna do some paperwork because I want to ensure that I'm able to drive this car no matter what's going on in the relationship. I'm not gonna play that this my car thing. But they tried to play the this my car thing anyway, right? But there was an agreement. I'll pay for this car. I'll pay the note on this car, but the title was going to be in my name. Well, the title was going to be in both names, but I was paying it. I only paid the insurance portion that dealt with that vehicle. I didn't pay the insurance portion that was dealing with the other vehicle. And so everything became financial. And then when I started making more money than her, all of a sudden now she want to flip everything. Oh, you know what? I think that you should pay more. I was like, no, we have this prenup and we're going to stick by it. You wanted to make it a financial relationship. It's going to be a financial relationship. As far as the finances are concerned, we would not have unity within the finances. The finances will always be done on paper. It have to be a legal documentation, and you have to think what's in your best interest, and I would think of what's in my best interest. So everything we did financially, I did not do it because she wants to say it's the spirit of it. No. I'm going by the prenup. And I listed businesses that I had in concept that I hadn't even started. I listed them on that prenup because I was like, nope, if I start this business, this one, or this one, we will not be, there was no unity in it. There will have to be contracts drawn up. If we do unify in it, it will be based on contracts as to who owns what and who's going to be a part of anything. Anything after we could split. And I understand that's what most people think about that with a prenup. Okay, anything that we get afterwards, we'll split. But anything that's, previous, what you walk out with what you came in with. But let me tell you how that gets invalidated, Vanessa. So let's say you own a business and at some point you need to borrow, you ask, we need $10,000 for XYZ. He gives that $10,000. Now that he's given that $10,000, he actually has a stake in your company. So even though you had it before, he now has a stake in it. Or you have a house that you're renting, but you don't have the money to replace the roof. He has the money to replace the roof. He replaces the roof. If you've never paid him back for that money, he now has a stake in that property. So you can have a prenup. It could identify those things that you will walk away with that house. But because he paid for the roof, he could force you to set, if you can't pay him back the money, given a certain amount of time that let's say the judge gives you a year to pay him back the money, but you're unable to do it, he could then force you to sell the house so that he can recoup his money. So the prenup is only good as long as you keep your finances separate. And that's, hi, what's up, Kevin? Peace, man. Peace, King. Kevin, and I'm going to segue to just a second. That's interesting. Never thought about that, but that's how a prenup actually works. Most people just think about it. If you leave with what you get. Kevin, people have been bothering me about you and I doing a show together again. So I'm going to put that in your court since, I call you, text you, and take like 11 days to return the call of things. Yeah, I'm throwing your business on the street like that. Yeah, I'd rather not get married, not ever get married. Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting married is a little bit different. You don't have to legally get married. But even if you don't legally get married, if you have a house and he pays for the roof, he still can take you to court and try to recoup his money off of it. Wait a minute, let me think about that for a second. That would, if he just gives you money, the judge could declare that as a gift. But in most cases, they're still going to declare it as you need to pay him back that money, right? That's a nice background and camera. You should stay with that, and we can always work. This is my cigar lounge, Kevin, that you haven't came down to Atlanta, which you're only 3.5 hours away. And you told me last time I was up there, which that you was gonna come through after I opened it up. It's been open for 1 year and 8 months, Kevin, and you ain't came down here yet, Kevin. See, I'm just throwing all this shade. That's my guy though, but I'm throwing all that shade at him. I'll wind up probably coming up to Charlotte to hang out with y'all before you come down here. And actually, Kevin will be a good person on this conversation because, you know, Kevin practiced polygamy and he has a beautiful relationship with his 2 brides. And, you know, there's paperwork in place to protect everybody in the relationship without them having to allow the government to get involved and try to screw over their stuff, right? I'll be by. Take it easy, sir. Nope, not taking it easy on your ass. You know. Actually, I got to come to Charlotte because my goddaughter is living in Charlotte now too, so I got to come to Charlotte this summer. So whatever. But anyway, but yeah. So, but he has paperwork to protect everybody within the relationship. You know, because the government won't recognize that as a legal marriage. So, but he got paperwork to protect everybody so that everybody has equal share, equal protection within the relationship. And that's why you don't necessarily have to have a marriage license, because you can do other paperwork in order to facilitate everybody having that type of protection. Now, when it comes to properties and things like that, you can also do paperwork to protect everybody in that regard as well, which you should. You should do paperwork. There's nothing wrong with that. What about a trust? Yes. Now, there are certain trusts that you can put your property in that takes it out of your name, but you have to look at the different trusts and how they work. You know, a lawyer who does trust will be able to tell you what's the best case scenario based on what you're trying to do. But that lawyer should give you breakdowns as to, you know, you ask them, if that person fixes the roof on a house, how does that affect the property in the trust? And depending upon the trust, that person can still have access to that house or to that property or that business or whatever it is. This is why you most of the time you should have some when it comes to financial matters. I'm not saying there's something wrong with having additional paperwork, you know, but when you start out with a prenup, you're already saying we're going to have issues. You know, this is going to be a problem, you know, because I don't trust you. You know, but the prenup and financial aspects could be incorporated into the bylaws that you and your partner draw up. Yes, exactly. And they can. And your state doesn't have common law. What state is that, Nick? So, like, going forward in my life, when I leave America, mainland America here, me and my lady, when we open up a business, just in the bylaws of the business, it'll have, you know, it'll be portioned out so that there is not even a question. But that's only fair that it should be, because she would have started this with me. Now, if you're coming into and you got a whole bunch of stuff and you want to make sure that your kids have inheritances and that sort of thing, that's where you have your wills. But you just have to be mindful that anything that other person puts into that property, they have a stake in that property. And if you have a good relationship, you can peacefully discuss that without somebody getting into their feelings, you know, about it. And or it's something that you have a discussion about before you even get emotionally connected into that relationship. For instance, if I had a house and I wanted to make sure that house goes to my children, right? When I first meet the person in the early parts of the dating, I will make it known I own this house. I want this house. This house is to be willed to my children. At no point will this house be given to you. You know, If the person understands that up front, they can decide then whether or not they still want to deal with you or not. So I would just, like, that's just how it is. Now I would let them know I plan on building things to protect you so that if I pass on before you, which I'm not, but if I pass on before you, I want to make sure that you're taken care of as well. These are insurance policies that my kids will get. Here's an insurance, and if after we've been together a certain amount of time, here's an insurance policy for you. Everybody gets theirs, and just make sure that everybody got theirs. You can do it reasonably if you have a reasonable person, but if you have a person who's emotionally driven, that's when you're going to have a problem. But if you bring these conversations up early and the person is all emotional and have all this attitude, that's not a person you want to be with anyway. So you can sift them out by bringing up this type of a conversation to them. I was with a woman who already had a business, and it was a business that I would never, ever want to be a part of. So I was like, I don't want your business, could care less about your business. But if they needed me to do anything for that business, I was like, okay, I'm gonna write this stuff down in paperwork. You sign it, I sign it. Let's get it notarized. We good. And everything works out. And it worked vice versa. If she wanted to do something for mine, let's get this paperwork signed, get it notarized. We're good. But it just turned everything into that, even the household bills. And that's where a prenup can create issues if one of the person takes it all the way to the point of we're splitting everything 50-50 in the household. If I ever have to pay a bill over, because you can't pay one, then you won't pay me back. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I actually knew a couple. I knew that relationship wasn't gonna last. The first time that rode to Virginia with them to visit their house, their family, we got to Virginia and that joker looked at his wife and said, "You owe me like $39 for gas and oil." I was like, "What? She owe you? We all broke ass, E2s, E3s. How your wife owe you $39 for gas and oil?" But that's how their relationship was. Their relationship was financially driven, And then, the thing that I didn't have a problem with the one that I had in that situation until they tried to change everything and got mad because they were like, "Well, you make more money now than you make more money than I do now, so you should pay the majority of the bills because you're the man." And I was like, Nah. So what you want me to do is pay all the bills, and then you get to save all your money. And then if something goes astray in this relationship, then you got your stack, and I ain't got nothing. And it was like, well, and I've been expensing all my money, taking care of the house. I haven't been able to save as much. I haven't been able to grow my company as much. But you've been able to take your money and grow your company bigger because I'm paying all the bills now. And I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that. You can counsel me on that one. And that created a stress in the relationship, a bigger stress in the relationship because she thought I should pay all the bills. And I was like, no, I'm not, you're not saving on. And she was talking, well, the money I save, that's for us. No, it's not. You wanted that prenup. So the money you saving it in your business account. So that's your money. That's not my money. That's not our money. That's yours. That's not going to work. It's the one time that I was in a relationship where I didn't do my financial plan of 70-10-10-10. And that's the one time that finances were a problem in my relationship. I had never experienced financial issues. Well, I've experienced financial issues, but never experienced where we were combative towards each other as far as finances until I did that prenup. And then she took it to the level of saying that she wanted me to pay all the bills after, she saw that I was making more money than her. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Because I saw the end around. I saw the cheat code. I saw the cheat code. You want to be able to save up as much money as you possibly can, grow your business faster, have this bank account, and then if something goes astray, you can say this bank account is mine because we signed this prenup. You see what I'm saying? So I wasn't falling for that one. I wasn't going to fall for that one. when my first child was born, I agreed to pay the bills for a while so the ex-wife could stay home. She got mad because I didn't pay her credit card bills. Well, now she's staying home, man. You can pay her credit card bills. But that's how was she supposed to pay her credit card bill if she wasn't working though? So, I mean, because I get what you're saying. When my kids were little, I didn't want, my thing was I didn't want her working. I didn't like my kids being in daycares. I wanted them to be home. I didn't trust the people at the daycare. Because my children, if they can't talk and tell me what's going on at the daycare, I don't want them in there. I want them. They couldn't be kept by other people until then. Oh, you didn't know about the credit card? Yeah, you got to have that financial conversation before you get married to somebody too. That's why I use my 70-10-10-10 program. I'm like, look, that way she know how much money I make and she know all the bills that I have. I know how much money she makes and I know all the bills that she got. We put it into the system. She get her free money, her leisure money. I get my leisure money. Then everything else goes into 70% for necessities, 10% for investment, 10% for fun, and 10% for savings. And then all the money, there are no financial questions because we know where all the money is going, and we are sharing in the usage of all the money except for your leisure account. Your leisure account, your expense account, not leisure account. Your expense account, you do whatever you want with your expense account. If you want to save your expense account, save it. If you want to go and buy shoes, go buy shoes. Go do whatever you want to do with it. I don't care. As long as I can go buy cigars and go play golf and whatever else I want to do with mine, get some gelati, I'm good. But ever since I started doing that, everybody knows everything that everyone is doing in it. Oh, hold on. Let's see what Vanessa. We're going to let Vanessa on TikTok come in.
Hello.
Hey, Vanessa, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for letting me come up. I was just listening to your live, and I agree with some of the things you said, but not all of it.
Okay, that's great.
That 50-50.
I don't like when everybody agrees. But you said except for the 50-50?
Yeah, not the 50-50. I don't agree with that.
Okay. Explain, please.
So I as far as the protecting your assets, I do believe, for me in my case, I think that's needed because I want to protect what I have before a marriage, and this is a conversation I have regularly. So I'm glad it was you brought it up, some good points. But I feel like it's important to protect your assets, especially because I have a child. I want my assets to go to my kid, and if I was to get married, whatever I obtain in that marriage, that's fine to, separate. But I do think still the man should pay all the bills. And if my homes, we have it as rental property, I would be okay with that being contributed to the household. But if you're saying if he fixes a roof, then he has some saying toward that asset, then that kind of makes me question, well, if I have the money coming from rentals of homes I own going to the house, then he would have, access to or have, ownership to the home then too. So that makes me rethink everything.
Yeah. In a lot of jurisdictions, if that money from the rental property is going into the household, it would open a door for him to challenge a stake in that rental property, because at that point, you're allowing the profit to become part of the household, so it becomes part of y'all household. So you would have to keep even the profits from it separate. You can't let those profits join in with the household.
I see.
And you can't allow him to spend money. You can't allow any household money to go towards your rental properties. So, I know that you probably have an escrow account set up where you're saving a portion of the rent to pay for roofs and air conditionings and all that sort of thing. But if you don't have enough at any point in time and you need household money, And if you got renters in there, you know you got to do it within a certain time frame, or the renters can stop paying rent or break the lease legitimately. Then you're kind of stuck. So you might ask for that money, for household money. But as soon as you open that door, that person now has a stake in your house.
Right. Interesting.
Now, what you can't,
I never thought about it like that.
Now, what you could do is set it up that where if that person does pay for a portion in the house, then you can write up a contract saying that, all right, this amount of the rent, after everything's taken care of, a certain amount of the rent every month is going to go back to that individual person until the money is paid back. Then that will prevent the person from actually having a stake in the household at that point. Because the judge is going to honor that contract and say that, well, did you pay him back? Yeah, I paid him back. Okay, so he has no stake in the house now. So there are ways to make it work. You just have to, y'all have to be peaceful enough with each other and understanding enough to know that you're just protecting the house. Now, he might feel some kind of way, though, that you want to keep this separate. Unless he got something that he's trying to keep separate, he may have an understanding of it at that point. But if he doesn't have anything he's trying to keep separate, but you're trying to keep something separate, it can always be a contention in the household. And then, to be honest, most men don't care about how much money a woman makes. Most of us don't. But if you're over here growing this real estate empire, and he's paying all the bills, but he doesn't get any benefits from you growing this real estate empire, it's going to be a problem in the relationship. Most likely, he's going to have a problem. He's going to feel like you're not all the way in the relationship. Right? He's going to feel like you planning on divorcing. You're planning on leaving. Right? And even though your justification is that you have children, in his mind, he's not thinking about leaving, not ever being with you, but you just put a stake in the ground that says that, yeah, but I'm planning on leaving. I'm planning on there being an opportunity where we just don't get along, and I want to make sure that I still got my house.
Right. It's so hard because you have to kind of, I don't know, it's hard to not make it a business transaction, but it is. At the end of the day, marriage is a business deal. It is a business contract, especially if you have something to lose. And if you have, I only have one child and she's in college, but I still want the stuff that, was before marriage to still be hers. And whatever after, yes, I don't mind splitting. So if additional homes are bought, fine, then that's understandable. I just don't want what was bought before touched. And I get what you're saying. I definitely can see somebody feeling like that.
So if the house needs a roof and he says that he's not spending any money on it because it's not part of y'all, both of you guys, are you going to feel some kind of way that he doesn't want to help you? You're going to divorce him. But yet you want to keep this separate to yourself and for your child.
No, I would feel some type of way. I'm joking. I wouldn't divorce him,
but you're gonna feel some kind of way.
On the couch. Yeah, he'll sleep a few nights on the couch.
Oh hell no, I ain't never sleeping on the couch. You be mad at me all day. I'm still sleeping in my bed. But you see how that's already starting out with a problem. And that's already a problem mentality involved in the relationship, because you want him to pay all the bills, but you over here stacking this cash from your rental property. Let's say you got a 20-year roof, you got air conditioning, everything is good, and for 20 years you get to stack this cash. And then something happens in 20 years and y'all want a divorce. This man done paid for your lifestyle for 20 years, paying all the bills. And you work? I'm assuming you work right now, right? You get married, you're still gonna work?
Yeah, maybe a few years.
So you still gonna work, you're stacking that cash, and
No, I wouldn't stack that cash now. I mean, I wouldn't pay the bills, but I would definitely take care of things, of the luxuries.
Hell
like
no.
vacations, retirement, things to make his life easier, but not take care of our lifestyle, not provide for our lifestyle. If that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. I really do understand what you're saying. And a lot of
And
women.
I'm okay for the rental property money to go toward the household, but I just want to make sure it would have to be in, I guess, the prenup to say that, yes, I will contribute. That can contribute to the household, but I don't want any states you would have to say or something toward them. I don't know. I don't know how to navigate
I mean,
it,
you
but
can.
you don't have to.
That can be written into a prenup, but
Okay.
that can be written into a prenup that the household money, the rental property money can go into the household, but you still maintain ownership of it at all times. And if y'all break up, you still get it. He can fight that, but if y'all already got that in the right written up, he's gonna be he'll lose. But but you see, it's a huge money can most relationships end over sex and money. One of the two, sex or money. That's why they end. Because most of your arguments are going to stem from those two subject matters. And this is why I also put protecting the relationship on this podcast, because you're not protecting the relationship at that point. You're creating a situation that's going to create a divide every time. Because I'm just being honest with you. I'll be damned if I'm paying all the bills for the lifestyle. You got your rental property over here that you keeping. You also working, and you're telling me that, oh, well, when we go on vacation or for the luxuries, I got that. The vacation, and unless we going on vacation, every month for a week, hell no. And you talking about you did also say the retirement, right? I mean, we can
about throwing in some season passes, throwing a few season passes.
I don't know where you at, but don't make me get in my car. No, that doesn't work. You see, most men think logically, right? So logically, all that sounds like is you want yours and you want his, but he can only have his, and that you're going to make sure that you're taken care of, but he's not. Now, as far as the retirement part, if the account's got both persons' name on it, that's a feasible understanding. But so whose name is the retirement accounts on? How much money is being put into retirement into the retirement account? If it's not equitable, he's going to feel something. He's going to feel like you're taking advantage of him, and that you're interested in him for just the money, and that you're only interested in him for just yourself. And there's always going to be this selfish. He's going to have most of the time he's going to have a thought process of being a selfish person, because financially that's all you care about is you and your daughter.
So let me ask you this: so what would be the best way you would navigate that type of situation? Because I don't want to come across selfish, but I also am old school, so I feel like a man should pay. I feel like he should provide, and that is something I'm going to need, that security. So I don't want to be selfish. I definitely don't want to make him feel like I'm just after him for the money, but I also don't want to cheat my daughter, who has been there as well. So she deserves the assets that I've acquired. So I don't know the medium between that. That's why I stay not married, So, and I have no problem continuing on doing that, but he's kind of like barking about it. So.
So first, let me break down the old school thing, right? We have to recognize that we don't live in 1950s and earlier, and for Black people, 1970s and earlier. Prior to that, women really didn't have the opportunity to go out into the workforce and make an equal amount of money, or even equitable amount of money to what a man could go out and make, right? So it wasn't so much about it being a traditional thing as much as it was a economical, racial, gender bias situation where men went out and made more money. So men naturally took care of more of the household. and paid all the bills. But let's also recognize that in every culture throughout time immemorial, women weren't just sitting at home doing nothing. They were contributing to the household. I do really hate, I don't use hate that word that often, but I hate when people say that the man needs to take care of the household and pay all the bills, but we're not agrarian no more. So there's a misunderstanding. The woman, like, she still contributed to the household that equaled into a financial situation. Back when people farmed, for the most part, she made clothes and they sold those clothes. She grew gardens in and around the house. She still farmed with him. She may have taken care of the animals, the smaller animals. She may not be out there with the big field, but she out there with the small field. Women have always participated in the economics of the household. This idea that only men are doing the economics of the household is a misunderstanding of time and how people function back in the day. Women work just as hard as men do. And then women generally stay closer to the household because generally they had children, and that's why they stay closer to the household. And they took care of the land and the small animals around the household. So women contributed. There was never a man doing all the work and providing all the finances. That has never been a situation unless you were rich, right? But now that we've industrialized and modernized, everybody got jobs, but people want to hold on to the idea that the man pays all the bills. Now we're going actually away from traditional, because traditional, everybody took care of the finances of the household in whatever format that they could. So a man paying all the bills, it's kind of BS. It ain't kind of BS, it's BS. Because you're now dividing the unity of the household of us working together to build this household, right? So that's why, like, back in 92, after reading a couple of books, I started using this 70-10-10-10 plan that I use, right? Whereas all the money, because we're not farming, I'm never going to be a farmer. So we're not farming anymore, because if you go out to some of these farms today, you see both the man and the woman out there farming. Everybody's farming. But all the money comes into one, all comes together. We decide what expense account we want to each have. Like, let's say the expense is $1,000 a month, right? You get 1,000, I get 1,000. Doesn't matter who makes the most. We both get an equal expense account. Then the money that's left over, 70% goes to our necessities. That's our mortgage, food, clothing. I even put a woman's health care. I even put her hair and nails and all that stuff as part of the healthcare portion of the budget. All that stuff goes into that aspect for NEC. We make sure that we're not living above 70% of that remaining amount of money. Then 10% goes into investments, and then 10% goes into, and investments usually for me are things that are going to give you a return on your investment more immediately, because I want the investment account to outgrow our working, the money that we make working, so that we get residual income. But if you're not doing that, you plan on working in your careers, that investment goes into your retirement, and 10% of the remaining money goes into that. 10% goes into savings. So we're saving 10% for whatever the heck we want to do, vacations. If you want to buy it, make a major purchase at sometime point, fix a car, whatever that needs for the house. And then 10% goes into fund money. The fund money is our unity dating money, or if you got small kids, family money. But that fund money is where we go to the movies, we go out on dates, we do all these kinds of sort of things. Now, me, I don't like paying bills, so the woman always handles all those financial aspects. The only thing I pay attention to is the investment money and the and my own expense account, so I can go buy cigars and go play golf. When it's done like that, then finances are never a question, and it doesn't matter who makes the most money, because we're working at as a team now. So it's still not 50-50, because somebody makes more than the other person, but it's 50-50 in access to the money. It's 50-50 on each person individually having money to go do whatever they want to do. So you can still go on your shopping spree, or go get some extra massages, or whatever you want to do. You see what I'm saying? and we still got vacation money, we still got savings, and we still investing in our retirements or in businesses, because y'all may want to buy houses together, and you use your investment money to buy houses. And let's say over a 20-year period, y'all do something like use that investment money to buy tax liens. And after 20 years, y'all got like 40 properties. Those properties have now making more money than both y'all incomes. So now neither one of y'all have to work, and you're getting enough cash to be able to live the same life, or if not better. So you've built harmony, and you've built a togetherness financially that actually helps your relationship, period, and allows y'all to enjoy each other more so. So if you did something like that, then none of this is a question or is a problem. And you can still section off that one house and just have it in your will that house goes to your daughter, but all the other things belong to y'all together. And a man won't care about that one house if he sees that in every other aspect, we are together. We are building this together, that all our money is working for our benefit. Not there's this thing where it feels like my money is working towards your benefit and not really my benefit. It's just that brings about unity. I've only had financial problems in one relationship, and that's because she wanted the prenup. She wanted to protect her stuff, and she wanted everything, all the financials being separate. But then when she started having change of mind, change of hearts about how the finances were going, because I started making more than her, all of a sudden finances became a problem. And so I vowed that I would never do that again. I will never not work the same financial program I've always worked, because I don't have financial problems. Hell, previous time I got divorced, it was over sex. That shouldn't do with money. Money was never an issue. And even in the divorce, money wasn't an issue in the divorce. Even with the prenup, money wasn't an issue because we had so many contracts for everything that was done financially. But that put a serious strain and created a lot of arguments within the relationship. So if y'all did, if you want the man to pay all the bills and yet you get to keep your stuff, you're going to have a problem. Y'all going to have problems with that relationship. And then if a man wants to marry you, but you like, I don't want to get married because I want to protect my house, he ain't going to marry you, because he's going to be like, nah. He might still date you, but he'll never marry you. Y'all will never come together financially. It'll always be separate. And so basically y'all be perpetually dating, and you'll be perpetually dating, because at some point that dude gonna go off with somebody else who actually wants to be with him totally. And then you'll start over, and you'll find another dude, and the same thing will happen again. And then at some point you'll get bitter towards men and be like, men are just about their money. But no, you've been about yours. And that's why they don't want to be with you after a time, after you've gone through it a bunch of times. So, because we do get bitter, and we only look at things from our perspective, and we think that we're always great and the other person is wrong. We're biased as hell as people. We are. I mean, very few people will tell the absolute truth and can look inside themselves and see where they have messed up and what they did that caused problems in the relationship. Most of the time, we blame the other person.
I definitely do, like you say. I say it in the beginning. But yeah, I would be okay if somebody would decide they don't want to deal with that, because I just really believe in generational wealth, and I think that's the way we can kind of help our community get out of being on a lower economic scale. So I believe in generational wealth. I think that's one of the ways to get out of some of the issues we have as a community. But
But you don't want to do it together, though.
Ooh.
You don't. Let's be honest. You don't. You want him to pay all the bills.
I don't mind doing it together. I don't mind working together. I just want what I already have established to stay the way it is. And if that means I have to fit the bill for a roof, then I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
If that means leaving or losing somebody behind that because I want to protect my daughter's future, then that is a goodbye to him. I mean, I wanted that bad for my child. That's why I did it. That's why I worked so hard to get what I have. It's not to split it. It's not to have it up for stakes or to lose it. It's because I built it for her. So when I do pass, now anything else, like I said, yes, I'm willing to work and go have. I'm willing to adjust the whole financial thing a little bit.
A little bit. Why does he have to pay all the bills?
I still gotta look. I just feel that makes me secure. It makes me be able to be the best woman I can be in that relationship. And I'm used to a certain type of standard with the guy. So I don't think I'm going to look at him the same if I'm paying most of the bills or half of the bills. I'm just not going to respect him like a man, like I feel like I need to.
So the quality of the man is based on how much money he makes? The respect of a man is based on how much money he makes?
No, but it's easier for me to respect him if I look at him as being able to provide a certain type of lifestyle for me, where I can flourish as being a woman in that environment. I can't be in my soft, feminine, happy self for him if I'm putting up half of the money for the bills. I just can't do it. That's me, though.
No, that's not just you. Actually, that's a lot of women. And unfortunately, and I hate to say it this way, a lot of women of color think that way. And I get that our generations have grown up differently than the other side generations have grown up. They've grown up with a lot more opportunities of their men being able to build wealth, whereas we haven't had those, and we've had more roadblocks put in front of us to overcome. Okay, so basically, we see that other side, but that's not our reality. To be honest, that's not our reality. When white people had the opportunity to manifest destiny, which was for them to go out there and just claim land, just take land from the natives across the West. The white men didn't just go out there by themselves, claim the land, get it all set up and established, and the house all good to go and all that stuff. And then their white woman came and she walked into a situation that was already made pretty for her. That white woman and their children got on them wagons and they went out there with them. They drove stakes in the ground, deciding what land they were going to have. They farmed the land together. They built the land up together with their children. And then as generations went on and on, the white man naturally had a leg up because they had that land to build from. Black people never had that opportunity to just go out there and do that, and to do it as a family. Now, we were doing things as a family. When we look at Tulsa, we like to look at Tulsa, but there are so many other places like Oscarville in Georgia, where I grew up in Marietta, Lawrence Street and Lemon Street was that way. Black families opened up stores and shops together. They worked in the shops and they did the stores together. They worked together. Things weren't ready made. We're behind. We started the race late.
Right.
But
when you're coming with something already, you don't want to keep working and working and working. You're speaking from somebody who's coming from an area where we have to build together. We're starting off young. A lot of women now are saying, well, they're doing it later on in life. For those women who are doing it later on in life, they don't want to continue working as if they started from day one.
But that's the beauty of it. You're not starting from day one. You're coming into it already established. And if he's coming into it already established, this is a better situation for y'all to build together. But you still want to build separate because you're not building together. I'm just being honest. You're not building together. You want him to build and you get to lean back. You get to chill. You get to just go lap of luxury while he still got to build. No, really. I mean, I understand. From a man's perspective, and from a man who I know you can't see my background, but I'm sitting in my cigar lounge that I own, right? From my perspective, if you already got stuff and I'm already got this, why would I take on all your bills, which makes it more difficult for me to build what I already got, which I want to build this for us. You see what I'm saying? I can't build this for us more effectively if I got to take care of all of your stuff now. So we're not doing this together. And when you say that, you know, so I would look at you and be like, nah, you selfish. Actually, 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the young lady I was dating, I showed her my plan of how I work money and my 70-10-10 and how she's going to have more money for herself. And I actually got her a job that from one of my clients that allowed her to get paid twice as much as she was getting paid, but she still wanted me to pay all the bills. And she was saying the same stuff that you were saying. And I was just, and I literally just had to kick her to the curb politely, but I kicked her to the curb because I was just like, no, you will stalemate my growth because now I got to pay for you and your boys. I'm not doing that. Because I can, you know, you remember the term, I can do bad all by myself. Because I could, and it wasn't even doing bad all by myself. I can now do better by myself than I can do with you. So she didn't bring anything to the table. It wouldn't matter that if I went home and there was a meal cooked and, you know, we chilled out, we enjoyed each other, and then we, you know, made love and all that kind of stuff. I'm still looking at my finances every day, majority of the day, and I'm looking at the fact that I'm putting out way more money than I used to, and I can't build my company as fast, so we can't even have those luxuries. So when I come home, I'm not happy. No matter how good the food is, I'm not happy. No matter how good the pum pum is, I'm still not happy. And you know, the real term is happy spouse, happy house. One person can't be happy while the other person is not. So if we're not building together, we can't do this. This is not going to work. And what you're setting up is not going to work. Unless that dude is like making so much money that it doesn't matter, it ain't going to work. So basically, you need to go find I don't know how much money you make, but that dude need to be making probably about twice as much money as you do. But not have a whole bunch of bills himself in order to still continue to develop and grow and pay all your bills. But any dude that's at equal level of you, nah, he's taking a loss, a financial loss and a stress, and he's going to increase his stress, which is going to then cause problems in your relationship, no matter how good of a woman you are being, no matter how much you're sitting in your feminine. It's not going to work. And honestly, if your respect of a man is based on his ability to provide for you, then you're saying his character is not the biggest thing about him. And that should be the biggest thing, because, and I understand what you're saying about your daughter, but let me ask you this one. Who is the one person that is trying to pledge to spend the rest of their life with you? Because your daughter, she's in college, right?
Right.
She done got up and she's gone. And when she come back, she might boomerang back, but she gonna go and live her life and do her thing. That man is the only person who says that I want to die with you. I want to stay with you until I die or you die. But that's the person you're alienating. It's the only person who says they want to be with you for the rest of your life. Your brothers, sisters, your parents, everybody else plans on leaving you.
I don't think that's alienation, but I do feel like if he has certain expectations of me as a woman or as a wife, there's nothing wrong with me having expectations from him. If he can't meet them, I do understand. You know, I do understand that, but I can't.
But you ain't gonna respect
it. And even in my peer group, I've seen where the women contribute and there's no respect there. Yes, I'm sure they may love their husbands, but at the end, when I'm on a phone conversation with them, when their husband's not there, you get those bits of resentment. You get those bits of disrespect. I don't want to be resentful when he's not around, because I'm stressed out, because I'm having a fit. I've seen how my friends' relationships look, and they're truly not happy. They don't have the respect they need for the guy.
But is the respect because of the money or some other aspect of that man's mentality?
The lack of respect is because they're having to carry so much of the burden of the household, and they're stressed.
And are they still, so they're carrying financial burden? Are they also carrying the taking care of the home burden?
mean, they're in charge of a lot. They're in charge of everything.
All right. So the loss of respect, in my opinion, on this one, based on the limited amount of information, is that it's not about how much money that they are putting out and how much they're taking care of financially, but it's every other aspect of the relationship. If I was in a situation where, like, actually, there's a guy who comes to my cigar lounge. His wife, he was a basketball coach. His wife was going to med school. He footed the bill for everything until she became a doctor. Once she became a doctor, he wound up staying home and taking care of the house while she made the money. Because let's face it, a high school basketball coach versus a doctor. You know who makes the most money? The doctor. He stayed home, took care of the boys, but he took care of the house. He cooked, he cleaned, he made sure the boys got everything that they need taken care of. You know, he was a house husband. But it made sense. Now, he had some feelings. Every now and then he get into his feelings because, the other guys around here. But I kept telling him, I said, look, man. Actually, he used to come to my popcorn shop, not the cigar lounge. And I told him, I said, look, don't let these other outside people mess up your relationship. This is why I put on there protecting the relationship. Don't allow insecurities to mess up your relationship. You got a good thing. But he's providing balance in the household because he's taking care of the house. She don't have to worry about the house. She don't have to worry about paying bills because he takes care of all the finances. So she ain't got to worry about paying anything. He made sure the boys grew up. The boys are in college now. So now he went back to coaching basketball. But he handled everything in the household. And they are a very, very happy couple because they're not allowing the ego and she-go of what the world says that they're supposed to be. They're doing what works for them. So regardless of who makes the most money, if those women that you're talking to, you might want to stop talking to them because they sound like bad influencers. Unless you understand that their husbands expecting them to pay half the bills, but those husbands are expecting them to do all the cooking, all the cleaning, or at least 90% of the cooking and cleaning and caring of the children and all that sort of thing. If that's the case, them dudes need a wake-up call because you can't think that your woman is going to go to work just as much as you go to work, pay up half the bills or most of the bills, then do most of the cooking, then do most of the cleaning, and then do most of the caretaking of the kids, and then supposed to give you some poom poom every night or how often you want it. No, those dudes are living with an unrealistic mentality, and they should be left. Those women should leave those dudes. But if the way that I describe how I do finances with my 70-10-10-10, let's say you and I were together and we was doing that, but you make more money than me. But because you're working and I'm working, I'm also trying to make your life better at home. I'm trying to make sure I keep dating you, keep making you feel special. And I may not do it as much as you do. It depends on, the situation, but I might not be doing as much as you do. But you see my effort. You would still not be respecting of me?
And you're paying what? How much are the bills?
It really doesn't matter because all the money is going into the one pot. It's all coming together. You remember I was saying that, you get an expense account, I get an expense account. You have, then there's the NEC account that pays for all our necessities. Then we have our investment account, our savings account, and the fund money account that we go dating and stuff on. All our finances are taken care of. Each one of us feel like we have money to do what we want to do, and everything's taken care of. But because both of us are working, I'm doing things in the house. You ain't footing the whole house by yourself. You're not footing the kids by yourself. We are participating as a unit in the house.
Yeah, I think I might be able to do that for a few years, and then as long as I can retire. So.
And that's part of the conversation. How long do you want to work? So because like me and my lady right now, I can admit, but we both work. It's unequal of how we work because I work anywhere from 10 to 12, 13 hours a day, damn near every day. So I don't have the opportunity to take care of the house as much as she does. And then she cooks way better than I do. Like I can cook, but I don't want to eat my food. Not compared to hers. That stuff is too good. I actually get threatened by people here in the lounge that if I ever I can't break up with her because they want to eat her food too. But uh, it's not equal as far as how we take care of the house because she does far more than I do at the house, and mainly it's because I work, you know, like almost twice as 1.5 times as many hours a day that she works. If I was working the same amount of hours or even an equal amount of hours, I would make sure that I do things in the house. Like I actually sometimes I will do some things in the house when I don't have to run out the door early in the morning. Our schedules is really jacked up, by the way, which makes things real difficult. But there, every now and then, I do some things, and I never ask her if she notices what I do or anything like that because I'm not looking for the accolade of it all. But I recognize she does more, so I try to make sure she knows that I appreciate everything that she does, and that she knows that I know that it's not equal right now. But I also gave her a plan for when things will become more equitable. You know what I mean? And a plan that she will be able to stop working as well. So if a man can do that, so when you want to retire, you have to just figure out, the man should be able to figure out a plan that should allow for not just for you to retire, but for both of y'all to retire. But how hard is that going to be for y'all to figure that out if he's paying all the bills? Unless he's making like twice as much. That's hard. Especially if he is black. Do you like black men or you don't care?
No, I do like those. Yeah.
Now, a gentleman, somebody, Truth Why Not, on my YouTube, they asked the question, would you feel the same way? Would you feel the same way if she has sons? I wonder if she would feel the same way if she had sons. Oh, he's wondering if you would feel the same way if you had sons.
To provide?
I think they might be talking about leaving the house for your kid, or even for your sons to have to provide that way.
I mean, I have a nephew and he's almost 18, and I tell him the same thing. Like, you need to get in a career that you can provide for family.
Okay. I think that's bad advice. Like, I tell my son that he has to be able to provide for a family because if she has a child, you may want her to stay home and take care of the kids. I mean, I remind him of what it felt like every time he got off the bus, his mother was there, right? I remind him of that feeling of taking care of a child. But I also taught him that you want to have a woman that's going to be walking lockstep with you in building something so that y'all have a financial protection and it's not all just on your shoulders, because that's hard. That's difficult. The lie of America is that
women do it every day, though. Women do it every day. There's single women that are providing for households with kids every day.
And there are men providing for as well.
Exactly. So if you're saying you're going to take a lady's hand and you're going to make her your wife, and you're now responsible for your family, you're the head of the household, why can't you provide? Like single women provide for their homes every day. Like single males provide for their homes that are single parents every day. Why is it so astronomical for a man to do it for a family that he's choosing to have?
It's not unreasonable for a man to be expected to provide for the house or provide for his family. But it's unreasonable for the woman not to be a part of that as well. Women have always been a part of it. Men are out.
But I don't have to be the same part. I don't have to contribute the same. I don't have to contribute financially because he does financially. I can contribute in other aspects, So I just don't think that's asking for a lot. I really don't. Now, if I had several kids and I had a whole lot of bills and I wasn't established, that's a little different. Or, early 20s or something, when we're just starting out, yeah, you got to build to get to a certain level. But if you're there and you're coming with assets and you're saying you still need to contribute, I think that's asking for a lot. That's just me, though. I mean, that's just how I feel. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's how I feel about it.
And I hear this a lot. I really do. I hear this a lot. And in this cigar lounge, about 30% of the people who come in here are women. And I've heard this from a lot of them as well, because the majority of people in here the average age is about 50, 55 in here. So they're older women who have, we're all older. We've all lived lives and that sort of thing. But you're hearkening again to this traditional mindset, forgetting that in that tradition, those women worked in whatever was the economics of the house. Like
But I've worked.
They've
done it.
My grandparents, for instance, my grandfather made more money than my grandmother, but she still worked. But she still did other things. She grew a garden in the backyard that I hated because I didn't like picking all that stuff. But she grew gardens in the backyard. She still contributed. That at the end of the day, it still equals economics. When we would go to Carrollton, where my grandmother came from, we would go there and I would see like I hear the stories of the older people who used to be in Carrollton, like in the 20s and all that sort of thing. All that land that they had out there, everybody, the wives were out there farming as well. They were slopping the hogs and feeding the chickens and doing all of that stuff, which all still added up to economics. Because if they didn't go out there and feed the chickens and slop the hogs while the husband was out there in the field on the tractor and all of that, he's doing more laborious work. But those chickens and those hogs and all the cattle that was close to the house, if she wasn't taking care of them, which is still equal, then they still would not have had the money to continuously buy the lands that they kept buying in and around their property. So it's still finances. It's just that today we all have jobs. We all just have jobs now. And then when, my grandfather would come home, or I would go out to Carrollton, they after they not worked in the field, they building fences, they fixing stuff in the house, they changing the plumbing, changing this, building that, all this stuff to make the house better while she's cleaning the house and taking care of the house and cooking dinner. So it's not like work ended once they got home. They still worked to take care of. Now they're taking care of the house. So, but we live in a different economic time, and women in general, they want this situation where they don't have to do nothing, and saying that the man should do everything. But in no time in history has the man done everything. So this idea of a traditional relationship is actually non-traditional in how you're saying it. It's actually very non-traditional. That's rich people stuff. That's what that is. That's rich people stuff. That's that 1% stuff right there. Yeah. And unless a man is making like 200 and above, I mean, you could be making 100 and y'all can live like that, depending on what lifestyle that you're agreeable to. But in most cases, what I hear from a lot of women, that dude needs to make like 200. And you know how few people in this world is making 200? Like that's less than 10% of the population is making 200. So where the hell is this man that I keep hearing these women talking about? Because that joker don't exist. For most people, that dude don't exist. He don't. He literally does not exist. But what does exist is a man who can put y'all efforts together, both in the house and outside the house, and y'all build together so that neither one of you have to work. Should that not be the best case scenario? Maybe
working together is a good thing. In marriage, that's fine, but I just don't feel that a woman needs to pay half the bill. I feel the man should do it.
You're gonna stick with that one, aren't you?
I'm gonna stick beside it. I'm gonna stick beside my girl. I hear what you're saying, and it is something I'm definitely gonna consider and think about. But I still feel like I just don't. Even like just my dating process. If I date a guy and he's not, able to court properly, I just lose interest. I'm not attracted to that. So I can only imagine in a marriage, I'll be looking at him side-eye. Like, you mean, I don't think I would have that same level of respect. That's just me though.
So Vanessa,
right.
Ask you a question, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
The words have meaning. When you say a gentleman is not able to court properly, exactly what are you talking about?
I'm talking about initiating dates, paying for dates.
So now you have an expectation, but it's a courtship. The courtship goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your expectation?
That is.
Are you of the mindset of one of these people who says, "Well, I'm the prize, and you got to do everything to gain the prize," or are you one of those people that is willing to bring a level mindset to the playing field and say, "You know what? Hey, there's an interest from you. I'm interested in you. Let's work together. Let's show each other that we value each other, right? And we can build off of that." Or are you one of those people who say, "Oh yeah, it's about me. Please do everything you can to woo me and show me that you're X, Y, and Z."
Well, I do think in the courting process, he should be able to show that he can sustain a certain type of lifestyle. Because, I mean, if you're dating and you're courting, shouldn't you be looking at this prospect for possible marriage? So shouldn't he be able to afford dating you? Because I also feel if you can't afford to take a woman out and pay for the date, you shouldn't be dating. You need to work on yourself and get your finances right and then come out in the dating world.
So I could say the same thing. A woman shouldn't go out on a date if she can't pay for the date.
And I would agree.
So what?
But that's because she can afford it. Don't mean she should. Doesn't mean she should pay.
Can I throw something in there?
Go ahead.
Because actually, I dealt with this with a young lady back in 2009. So at what point in the dating do we get to be intimate?
Well, it has to be about sex.
He didn't say anything about sex. See, that's where you went.
No. Actually, no. I'm talking about sex. I'm talking about sex because I'm not gonna be like how some dudes are and they try to like skirt around it.
Sugarcoat it.
For most men, one of the main reasons we are with a woman is because we want some sex.
Of course.
All right. So how much money and how much dating do I got to do before I get the sex? And let me preface this by saying this. And a lot of women get mad at me for saying this, but they'll be all right. The same way a woman equates the value of her body is for most men is the same evaluation we have for our expenditure of our money. Because of what we have to do mentally, emotionally, and physically, and especially as a black man to get money, the fact that I'm going to share this money with you and give this money to you and take you out and spend it on stuff that I wouldn't have spent on by myself. When do I get my return on my investment? Because we're not dating a woman and we ain't getting none.
When you state your intentions with me and we're in a committed relationship, then.
We're in a committed relationship. So if after a week I say I want to be in a committed relationship with you, you good?
And you've proven that you can.
How, Vanessa? How? After a week? How? What is he? What can he have proven in a week?
Well, then it would be a no if he haven't. If I feel
he hasn't. After a year, he hasn't. After 2 years, he hasn't. It takes
That's
years
not necessarily
to
true.
know each other.
That's not necessarily true.
We can agree to disagree, Vanessa.
Okay.
So a lot of times what you all are saying compared to what you all are actually getting is baffling to me. Because you want a man to come up to you and say, "Hey, look, these are my intentions and these are this and these are that." But that man,
you kind of dropped off a little bit there.
Your tradition is according to what I heard you say. Whether he makes 100 or 200 or 300 and
you keep going in and out. You keep going in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Can't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So, like, according to what you're saying, huh?
We can hear you.
Okay. According to her, she's a traditionalist. So, as a traditionalist, you're not just going out with just anybody. So, when you go out on these dates, are you looking for men who are making these $200,000 and $300,000 figures? Because that's the man that's going to take care of you at home. That's the man that's going to allow you to sit at home. That's the man that's going to allow you to do nothing but sit and tend to the house and do everything else while he goes out and make these hundreds of thousands of dollars. So is that what you're saying? That's what you're looking for? That's what?
I don't think I ever said that my expectation was to sit at home and do nothing. I never said that.
So when you stop working, what are you gonna be doing?
This thing called
I could be doing other things. We could have started a business, just like you said. That would be my conversation that I have in the beginning. That yes, at some point I would want to retire, and we can work toward that, to making that possible. So if that means start a business and I will be running a business, he'll be doing something else, then that's fine. However we map it out. But I don't want to sit and do nothing. Clearly, I've worked. I've came to the table with something. So no, I'm not a sit at home type of person. Just want to sit and watch TV all day.
Okay.
But I just don't want to be in the workforce at some point. And if I've worked up to this point, I'm saying, hey, I'm coming here with this. Yes, I don't mind contributing things to the household as far as retirement, as far as, the betterment of our life. I'm okay with that. Even if you want to start a business, I'm okay bringing my money to a business. I just don't feel it should go to electricity, gas, water when you've decided to marry me.
Mm-hmm. And the issue with that, the danger in that is, as an adult person, man or woman, I'm not saying, listen, what I do for my wife, for my family, is what I do. I take care of everything that I need to take care of. Mm-hmm. And then I do what I gotta do, right? So at the end of the day, my wife, she works, and she contributes to our family. Not that I am about to let you drive yourself into an early grave trying to provide every single day. Where, like I'm a service member, and I have real estate that, we have purchased together, and we're starting to build a portfolio. So provided is not an issue. For most men, it's not an issue. But when you come to a person and say you have an expectation, let me ask a question. This is a general question, Vanessa. This is not directed at you per se, right? Okay. Most of women who are communicate to us today, they come to the table. In most cases, they're. I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is tripping right now.
Yeah, it is.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Most of the women who are saying these things where, they want a man to do this and to provide and to do this and to do that, they're coming to the table with baggage. A lot of baggage. They're coming to the table having been in relationship with men who didn't value them, who didn't want to make them honorable, who left them with children now that this new person have to now raise and take care of and provide for and feed and nurture and all these other things. But you come to the table with that, and then you say to that man, I need you. I don't need to pay no water bill, and I don't need to pay no light bill, and I don't need to do this, and I don't need to do that. That is an expectation in which you're giving off that most women can't meet what their expectations are, but they want that from a man. Mm-hmm.
And he makes it's a valid statement.
So what happens, like, God forbid.
Go ahead.
And for me, like, I have, what's the name? I have deployed multiple times across, Asia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and and all of that, right? So, God's been good to me. He's kept me and he's brought me home to my family. But what if something would have happened to me while I was out there? That changes the whole dynamic of the family. Now, I'm not there to provide. What do you do then?
Well, you step up. I mean, that's why I'm saying it should not be a thing where you just want to sit on your butt and have a free ride. That is wrong. That is wrong. So, I mean, if he gets sick, if he's not able to pull his weight, if he loses his job, that's where you step in and you need to step into action. But if you're marrying somebody and you're saying that you're going to take care of that responsibility of being the head of the household, of being able to provide, you should be able to provide it. And I understand that, today's generation and all this, single moms, single dads who are parents are able to do it. So men can do it. It's not the fact that you can't do it. It's they don't want to do it.
It's not a point of men not being able to do it. I think even though on these podcasts we always hear in the worst case scenario, most of the time it's extreme left or extreme right, not the true realities of things. I think that most men can do it and most men don't have a problem doing it. I think the problem comes in is when you want to maintain this separation and you're not truly unified in the finances. Like I'm 51 years old. I've only been in a situation one time, and it only lasted for about 6 months, where the lady made more money than I did, right? And that was the one that had the prenup and all that kind of stuff, and that was a whole shit show. But in every other case, I made more money, and the household was pretty much based on what I made. And for now, the first time I was married, she only worked 3 years out of the whole time because we had small children. And then I was in the Marine Corps, and this, I'm sure Wiles can attest to, on these small military bases, some of these military bases in these small towns, it's hard for a woman to work because she can't find a job. But anyway, I've made most of the money, but because I put all the money together, she never felt like she never had to ask me for money, because there was always money there for her individually to do whatever she wants. Now, whenever she did work, her money still all went into the same pot, into the same financial program, and it allowed us to build things that faster than it would have been able to build it with me paying for everything and her not contributing at all, or just a little bit, and you want to retire like in the next 3 years. So you get married to a man, you want to retire in 3 years. Is it easier for you? Will that be easier if you are throwing in your weight the same as he's throwing in his weight, or if you're holding back? If you're holding back, it's going to take longer for you to retire. It's going to take longer to start that business. The business is going to have less working capital because he doesn't have any working capital to put in it because he's trying to pay for everything. So it's all about coming together as a team. It shouldn't matter who's paying the most or where the majority of money is coming from. It's about the team. And that's what the traditional used to be. This ain't traditional.
It can be the team. My money can go to something else. It does. I just don't feel my money should go to.
So when you say
a lifestyle,
mine, Vanessa, you have a problem with submission, Vanessa. When you keep saying mine and I when it comes to a marriage, then that tells me that you have a problem with submission. That tells me that you don't believe in a higher authority. As a man, I submit to God, and I love my wife as Christ has deemed me to love the church and give my body for it every chance I get, right? So now, as a wife, the Bible also says a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor from God. If you're not already walking in the state of a wife, I'm sorry, honey, it's going to be hard for you to find you a husband. A lot of women go 10, 12, 15 plus years trying to find a husband because they're not wife. They're a woman, but you're not a wife yet. A wife has a different mindset. A wife is a us thing and a we thing. That's what it is. And brother man, Semper Fi, man, I'm still active duty. I got a couple years left until time, hang it up.
What branch?
USMC. Man.
I thought so. You said, well, you know, some of them other jokers, they know to say simplify too, so I had to check, you know.
Nah, Leatherneck. Nah.
All right, that's my devil dog right there.
But hey, I'm on Catholic June right now, so you know how service is over here. Hold on.
Yeah, it is.
So, but what I'm saying, Vanessa, is a woman who wants to be a wife has to walk and operate in being a wife.
Well, I think some of the conversation you missed too. I never stated that was my desire. We were talking about finances.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I never really stated that that's my desire. But you can go ahead. You can finish. I'm sorry.
Wait, you don't desire to be married?
No,
Well,
not really.
Well, let's be honest, Vanessa. If let me not say let's be honest. Your desire to not be married is based on a man being able to have say so as far as what you've already built financially, right? If that wasn't the case, you'd be willing, you want to get married.
Not say so. Just the possibility of interrupting.
And but finances is why you don't want to get married. It has nothing to do with the institution of marriage.
Right. It's a heavy part of it. Oh, I believe in marriage. It's not a desire of mine if it comes to, you know, where I believe in my child, or like you were saying, certain things that you were mentioning was spot on. I never thought about it like that. If he contributes any part of it, then no. Then at that point, then we can just be, you know, not married together. I mean, it's the same thing to me. I don't see the difference.
And let me throw something in there.
And that's
Go ahead, Wiles.
I gotta disagree with you, man. And that right there is, I hope no young woman on here heard that and think it's a-okay. It is your opinion. This is how you feel. I respect it. But I'm gonna say that and part of the reason why the rainbow flag is being pushed in our community so much is to devalue the ability for us to procreate, for us to continue to ascend in the way in which we're ascending. I will say this, that I don't have the mindset of a lot of secular people because I'm a believer. I believe on the word of God and I stand on that. The Bible that created you, he created you in his image and in his likeness. And he saw that everything around you was good, but that man was alone. He created him a helpmate. If there's no way in my mind that I think a woman of your caliber, who's so well spoken and so well articulate, it comes to a point where in your life you feel like marriage is not a beneficial thing to you and to a family.
Can you tell me how it's beneficial? Besides religious reasons.
How is it not beneficial?
Well, let me answer that, Wiles. Can I answer that? Because and yes, Colby, I'm hotboxing this cigar. But I am not a man who believes in the Bible, right? But I share the morality that Wiles is talking about. Because the foundation of all civilization, the foundation of a culture is the family. You know, if you want to see the main reason why empires dissolve is because the family unit was disrupted by the rainbow flag and a whole bunch of other, you know, not coming in unity as a family unit, not working together as husband and wives and developing strong moral children. And morality goes beyond religion. Morality is in every religion and it's in every spirituality. It's in people, period, right? In general. So if you truly want a strong foundation for your daughter, if you want her to emulate something that is strong, her seeing you and a husband working as a team in unity will do her more good than a house that she will probably never live in, that will only be an investment property for her. And if she sees that you're not basing your respect of a man or your marriage on finances, but on the commitment, the emotional, the spiritual, the mental commitment that you two have, that will actually better her than anything else of you separating money. What you're teaching her is that, girl, go out here and take care of yourself, get all you can get for yourself, protect yourself, and don't worry about that dude, because it's all about you. And if it's all about you, she's going to end up, she could possibly, I ain't going to say she will, she could possibly end up being in that situation where she never has a total fulfilling relationship with a man.
Well, let me stop you there. First off, my daughter has been with her boyfriend since high school. Okay, so I definitely teach my daughter how to respect a man. So that needs to be said. So I don't know if we're talking about me personally or in general. In general, I believe in marriage for other people. I think that's a great thing, especially when. Wait, was he saying something?
I don't know. He in Camp Lejeune. Camp Lejeune is horrible as far as reception.
Okay, so I think that's a great thing for young women. I promote marriage. I'm saying for older, for me, it's not necessarily anything of a bonus to me. That's how I feel. But I do believe in marriage, and I do think that it is important to have healthy marriage. For me, it wasn't for my daughter to see that I was married and having a union of that sort. What was important for me her to see is that I was being loved properly by a man, period. Whether whoever it was, that they loved and they respected me. So that was more important than the title of being married. It was how I was being loved, which she has seen. And obviously she's been, like I said, with her boyfriend since high school. She's now she's on 1 year of college. So she's obviously have seen what she needs as far as developing and respecting the guy and knowing that the importance of a man in your life. So I do teach her that. It's just, I just feel like when you're later on in life, that piece of paper that so many people put high regards on it, if it's not religious reasons, it may not necessarily be that much of a deal. It's really how the gentleman treats you. Do he respect you? Do he honor you? A piece of paper is not going to give you that. It's not.
It's not. You're right. The piece of paper is not. It's the commitment between the two people. But we're both, I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask because I know that's taboo to
I
ask.
wouldn't tell you.
Huh?
A lady never tells her age.
But okay, so I'm 51. I'm established. I have a business. I have a house. I got all my stuff. You know, I'm good to go. The thing about it is, and don't take it personally, but don't take it too personally. If you and I were having a conversation to get to know each other, when you start separating and how you really just want to protect yourself, it would take away whatever physical attraction I may have towards you. It would all dissipate, because at 51, you know, we have less time to recover than, I don't know how old Wiles is, but we have less time to recover. So I'm not willing to risk losing financially to take care of you that may not work in 5 years. And now I'm in a worse financial state than I was in before I met you. I'm not willing to risk that because you don't want to be teammates with me. And I'm very different. I am very considerate and loving, and I think about taking care of my lady before I think about taking care of myself. So I'm going to give and give and give and give and give. But if for some reason or another it ends, I'm in a jacked up financial situation or less than where I should be, I'm not going to want to be with you, even at 51, because I don't have as much time to recover. You know, I had this, one of the reasons why I shut down my popcorn shop is because physically I can't do the work no more. You know, I'm not, my body, the Marine Corps, and I beat my body down, so I can't be lifting all this stuff. So I have to shut that down, even in training people how to do it. But so I don't have that much time to recover if things go sideways. But you, if I was with you, you don't have to recover. You've actually gained financially. You've grown financially through that relationship, and I've lost. So why would I be with you? Unless we were going to be teammates, there's no reason for us to be together. You see what I'm saying? So that's the benefit of it. And the other benefit is that if we were working together, how much faster can we grow things so that we are both in a better situation 5 years later, 10 years later, because now we're getting up age where we actually need each other to take care of each other, you know, physically, because at some point I may not be able to drive anymore. I may need you to drive, you know, take me down to the VA, baby. But you understand what I'm saying? That's the importance of the commitment, but we can't have that commitment if we're not, if finances is always going to be an issue because they're separated, we're not going to make it, more than likely, especially at our ages, because we're both thinking about our retirement years, them older years when we can't work, and we want to make sure that we're taken care of. But I'm not going to risk me being in a messed up situation because you want to keep all your money to yourself. Or I understand you saying you want to build a business together, but understand that if you put in the bulk of the money and then we go to court, then the judge is going to award you the bulk of the business. And I would not risk that I've been paying all these bills. You put up 75% of the money to start this business. And then the judge says, well, she put up 75%. She was actually physically working the business. You were doing something else. You still deserve some portion of it. So yeah, even though your money is 25% because of you taking care of the household, the judge says, I'm only going to give you 30%. I'm not risking that as an older person. That's not a risk I'm willing to take. But if we was doing it together from start, and then we built the business together, then I'm willing to risk that. I can risk that because I know that if you decide you want to leave me, then everything is going to be equitable at that point. And I won't be sitting here in a deficit. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yes.
And that's whether we have paperwork or not, because we're going to have some paperwork. We might not have a marriage license, but there'll be some other paperwork written up, you know, to say that, because with you, I would feel like I need to protect myself. So if we started a business, I would make sure that the bylaws are stating that if we were to terminate the business or terminate the relationship, that I still own 50% and you own 50%, regardless of who put the most money in. We gonna split this thing.
You know, it sounds like to me though, with you saying that, and I do understand that, but it sounds like to me, if I was to come in partnership with somebody, I need to be a little discreet on how I move.
Discreet?
And not be so forthcoming. Yeah.
So you want to be sneaky?
That's what it said. I said discreet.
Which is sneaky. Sneaky.
Well, I mean, if you're saying that, which makes sense, I understand from a male point of view.
What are you hiding? What are you hiding? Huh? What are you hiding, Vanessa?
Well, I wasn't hiding anything. I told him
can I ask you a question?
That front, but now it seems like you should be more discreet on your.
You just said that. Okay, so you just said being discreet, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. It's okay for you to be intimate with a man, but you talk about being discreet in other areas.
No, I talked about being upfront. No, I talked about being upfront at first. But is he saying that with me, he would feel like he would have to have everything right? Then that's only leading me to think of one thing. Because when you're saying this out in the world, you have the people here that say, okay, well then maybe you shouldn't be discreet. I mean, maybe you shouldn't be open.
But you took that the wrong way. What I'm saying, yes, because what I'm saying is the only reason I would have to start having everything in writing is because you want to keep things separate, because you don't want to be a team.
But you wouldn't know that if I wouldn't have been upfront and saying it honestly.
Okay.
So in order for me to keep you from feeling like that, you're telling me, and not without telling me, you're saying you need to be discreet if you go forward with that.
No. Okay. So when I find out, so I'm guessing you're saying you'll be discreet about the fact you own property, right?
Well, no, I mean, just be discreet about it all. Because I mean, if you're saying it's gonna be where you feel like you're gonna have to put everything in writing. So because I'm coming forward like that, then you're telling people if you come forward like that, this is the action that a male would probably want to take. He would want things in writing. So in order for me to prevent that from happening, then I shouldn't tell you that.
So what are you not going to tell me specifically in your current situation?
Well, I don't have to tell you my whole outcome of my finances that I want to protect it. I'll just put it in a trust.
And then when I find out about it, what do you think that's going to do to the relationship?
It shouldn't do anything. I would have said that was already established before you.
Then, okay, but you see that at that point, the relationship is going to be over, right?
Why would it be over?
Because we started out
know it.
But if I ever
know that you're going to be mad because I put myself in a trust before I even met you.
If I find out 7 years later that you weren't upfront with me, that you were putting things in trust and hiding it from me, then I'm going to not trust you, period, at that point. And without trust, the relationship is not going to work.
But I wouldn't tell you that.
But you're being
unless you act.
But you're being dishonest.
But then you're not being honest. You're being dishonest and you're being deceiving to a person. So you don't have a place in your heart to love a person. That's how I would look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what? Because if I had put things in trust and I had all this money in the trust, I had properties in the trust, and we get married, I never tell you about it. 7 years later, you find out that I got all this money and property in trust because I was trying to protect it from you. How are you going to respond to me after that? When I come in to kiss you, you gonna kiss me?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I would be in that situation, because if somebody would have came to me honestly and openly and told me the scenario like I was telling you about my situation and said, hey, this is what I want to do and this is why I want to do it, I want to protect my assets for my children, I wouldn't have penalized them and said, okay, well, now you're coming at me like this, I'm going to want everything in writing. No, but I understand you had kids before. They probably helped you maintain these properties or those properties. They probably were the one who was, maybe had to be penalized or not see you for some time because you was working on fixing those properties or doing whatever you was doing. They're entitled to that. So if somebody's coming and saying, hey, they're trying to protect the asset for their kids to make some type of generational wealth, this was already established before you, I don't think my response would be, okay, well, that's great. Now I see you coming this way. I'm going to protect everything going forward because you're coming like that. Because then that will make me be penalized for being honest and open. And if you want somebody to be honest and open,
But Vanessa.
Yeah.
Vanessa, if you come to me and you say, hey, I'm protecting all of my assets prior to you, as a man, now you're asking me as a man, or in general, not me specifically, because it would be me. To put up all of his finances and everything that he has, but yet you have reserves and things that are put.
You going out, but I think I know where he was going. It's the compounding that you're talking about, Vanessa, that I'm talking about. It's one thing if you came and said, hey, I have this house, I've had it for X number of years, I got it, I want it for my kids, and so on and so forth. I can respect that. It's when you add on, now I want you to pay for everything, and I still got my stuff over here. It's the compounding of those two things that makes it where I don't feel like we can be a unit together. If you wanted to keep the house, I'm fine. Keep the house for your daughter. You built that beforehand. I'm good. But moving forward, as we come together, we are putting our finances together to build something for us, and which will also benefit your children, my children in the long run. But we're doing that part together, I'm good. But when you tell me that you want to keep this for your daughter, but now I want you to come in and pay for everything in my lifestyle, that don't jive.
Shouldn't you want to continue maintaining your home for you? That's the protection of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Any money. Okay, so any money I contribute to it, now we have some other stuff going on. So you should want to pay your own bills. You should want to maintain your lifestyle that you've already started and have, because I can't say I helped you with any of that.
So then you bring no value. You bring no value to the relationship, and you bring no value to my life. So therefore, I would say exit stage left. We have nothing to talk about. See, when you're talking to me as a gentleman that's here on this call, we've been trained in something called trust, implicit trust the rest of their lives. I'm telling you right now. If I can't trust you, I can't throw you nowhere. I can't do nothing with you. I don't even want to have a full conversation.
You know, question, didn't you just say that you paid for all the bills in your home?
Yes, and me and my wife have one bank account.
Okay.
So every dollar I make and every dollar we get from investments and our properties that we own, we have one bank account. We're building together.
Right. So why couldn't I have my finances go to the betterment
because when you get married, there's no mind.
Let her finish her statement.
You know, when you're in a relationship.
Wow. Let her finish her statement.
So why couldn't my money go to? Because it's money I'm making, so it's mine. Yes, I understand in a marriage is whatever, but I'm like I've already said that's not what I'm doing. But I mean, if you want to say that, why can't the woman's money go to, or y'all money go to a specific part as far as vacationing, retirement, you know, out to eat, or, you know, whatever else y'all want to enrich y'all life, to make your life more pleasurable. But to sustain your life, your bills, your, you know, mortgage, that is from, why can't the man do that? I don't understand. I don't see what's wrong with that. That is teamwork.
It's semantics, really, because so you know the budget plan that I laid out earlier, right? 70, 10, 10, 10, right? You remember the budget plan I laid out? Mm-hmm. All right. Your money is still going to the same thing, regardless. But the difference is, it's in the vein of we're doing it together, whereas the way you're describing it, it's in the vein of you doing yours separate. You can cut yours off anytime you want to. You can decide what kind of vacation is going to be. Nope, we're not. I want to go to Bali. You like, nope, I'm only paying for us to go to Jamaica. You see what I'm saying? You're maintaining a separation and a control instead of us being together in unity of it, where we're making decisions together about where we go on vacation, what luxuries we have, what type of lifestyle we're going to live. You get to determine all those things. And you're saying you're determining because you're protecting yourself. But even though it's semantics, because all the money is still working towards the family, because you're trying to separate it, you're creating an issue that doesn't need to be there. You're creating a tension that doesn't need to be there at all, that eventually is going to affect the commitment of the marriage or the relationship, whether you're married or not. It's going to affect that relationship in a negative way. But if it's all together, but the money's still going to the unity, what does it matter of what portion of yours is going into the house and what portion of yours is going to investment and what portion is going to savings and what portion is going to fund money? It's still the same thing. It's just the way it's set up. You're creating tension where there shouldn't be any tension, because you want to maintain some separation disguised as separation and control disguised as protection. And it's really not. It's not protection at all. The only protection that you really have is the longevity of the relationship. That's the protection that you have when you come with somebody. And that's why the other part on that said protecting versus insecure relationship, because as long as both of y'all are trying to protect the relationship, then there's no need to try to maintain your own separation and control. Keep the house for your daughter, that's fine. But everything else we build, if all the money is together, then we are doing this together and we are having a better life on a day-to-day basis because we are in unity with one another.
I get it. That's why I said I'm not, this marriage, it's not for me. But we was talking about finances, but I definitely get what you're saying.
But finances are a big part of marriage. That is the main reason why most marriages end.
That's why I said it is not for me. I'm not mature enough. I need to mature. I'm mature. I can't grasp my mind around that.
Okay.
But
the first step is to admit it, though, right? The first step is to
Yeah.
admit it.
Y'all
And it's,
a couple of nights.
And it's good. Like on YouTube, my guy Errol is saying that him and his wife put all their money into the same pot, and the bills get paid, the vacations are taken, their retirement is going towards both their benefit equally, and nobody feels like they're taking advantage of either person. I mean, Errol's been on my YouTube for a long time, and he's maintained that, and they're both happier because finances is never a problem as far as between the two of them. Of course there are ups and downs in everybody's finances, but when those downs are there, they're working together, not looking at the other person. And I've seen where, because I used to own a gym and was a personal trainer, and I've seen where when the money, that the situation that you're talking about being in, I've seen where people were in that situation. Then the dude, in 2010, when that whole recession happened, the guy got a $50,000 cut in his money. The wife was all, well, you need to make more money because I'm not taking the kids out of private school. I'm not, the kid. We're not giving up the house over here or the house over there. They were well off, but she was adamant about, no, that's your job. That's your job. And she was just on him. And their relationship became so toxic to the point where I literally told them I fired both of them. I'm not training either one of y'all because y'all toxicity is bothering me. Right? And it was all over money. When if they were together, that wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been like, okay, babe, we got less money coming in. We've been working in unity together for so long. How are we going to adjust? Not how are you going to adjust? How are we going to adjust? And that goes to what Wild was saying. It's got to be about we and us, not me and mine. Because that me and mine will destroy a relationship.
Any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Now, let me say this real quick. Are you retired or did you just separate from the Marine Corps, bro?
Oh, I medically retired back in probably before you was born, back in '99.
Okay.
And but
I was born way before that.
How old are you? I can ask a man.
I'm not gonna say, but I got my youngest in the car. I ain't gonna say. They always trying to figure out my age, but I'm above 40. Let's say that.
What's your rank? That'll tell me how old you are.
I'm a staff sergeant. Should be a gunny by now, but this year hopefully.
All right. You gonna get on that board. I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
But, so like a man like the gentleman that we're talking to on the phone and myself, when we retire and God blesses us, or the universe blesses us, however you want to call it, with 30, 40, or even 50 years of good life, there's this pension plan of almost $2 to $3 million that we receive that's paid out based on whatever rank you retire out of the Marine Corps. Right?
Yeah.
So we have that at our disposal. And if you have any kind of,
even though he blanked out, I know that he's saying that if you have VA, any kind of ailments or things that you've experienced in the military, you also can get VA benefits. Man, you in Jacksonville, North Carolina, your reception is horrible. But I know he was going to. I know he was saying something probably about alluding to how we already have things set up to continuously to be able to take care of ourselves and our families after we retire out of the military, with retirement packages and with VA benefits, and as well as you'll be able to. You're still young enough to go out and create a whole nother career to be able to take care of your family. I don't know where else he was going with it though, but I know that when you're in the military, you can't do that without a good spouse. If you're married, you got to have a good spouse that's working with you as a team, because that is like incredibly stressful work. And if he's been deployed, I know it's been stressful on him, it's been stressful on her, and stressful on the kids as well. Because I know when I was deployed, those were very stressful times. If you don't have a person who's working with you as a team and finances is an issue, then that whole marriage is going to dissolve, right? And in most cases, even in civilian cases, the marriages will dissolve if you're not working together financially, and you allow that to be something that weaves its way into the relationship. Because when a man is, give you an example, when a man is stressed out, in most cases, when a man is stressed out, he wants to have sex, right?
Right.
in most cases, when a woman is stressed out, she doesn't want to have sex.
I mean, a person. I know, man. I know it's terrible, bro.
So a comment was made a moment ago about their grandparents or their parents. I don't remember exactly. They have 2 accounts. So how do you feel about that? Like you have a joint account and then you have another account.
Well,
I like that idea.
Well, as I said in the way I do budgets for me, I have an expense account. She has an expense account. That way we both got money that we can go do whatever we want to do with it. The amount of money that goes into those accounts are equal. Doesn't matter who makes the most money. And then we have an NEC account to pay for our necessities of life. And then an investment account, a play account, and a savings account. So that's what, 6 accounts that I normally carry. The expenses accounts are very important because it gives both persons the opportunity to go and do the things that they just want to do. And even in some of those things are, I want to buy her some flowers or some candy, or she wants to buy me something that she knows that I like, or she wants to go get a massage. I want to go get a massage, or whatever. Just anything you want to do personally for yourself. So it gives you that freedom to still have money to do something for yourself. Then all the other money is for the household and for our life and for our retirement and our vacations and our fun. So multiple accounts is fine. And it's okay to have an expense account just for you, but all the money is still coming into one pot to make that work. And even then there are people who have 2 accounts. Like she has her account, he has their account, but they know what their financial responsibilities are going to be in the relationship still. Oh, and I lost everybody. I don't know why I lost everybody. I lost Vanessa and Wiles. But Houston says that her dad's retirement account is way bigger than her mom's, so he handles the major bills. No issues. And you might not have any. And depending upon how people have been working together, they may not. A lot of older people who were born like in the 40s and prior to the 70s, hell, I say prior to the 60s, they grew up with parents who both of them made money and both of them took care of the house. Both of them went out and did extra things to take care of the house. And that is protecting the relationship. But we've gotten into this mindset where the man is supposed to do all this financial stuff and the woman gets to do whatever she wants financially, and we keep things separate. We're actually going into more of a separation than we have gone into maintaining the unity that our ancestors had, that our grandparents, and when I say ancestors, I don't just mean like hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about your grandparents, maybe even your parents, depending on how old you are. But those people had unity and finances weren't an issue, but we make it an issue now. So when people say traditional relationship, when it comes to finances, we're not having traditional relationship because it's expected now for a man to pay for everything. And, I didn't have a problem with that when my kids were little and I wanted them to come home to a parent. She said, my dad worked, my mom worked when she wanted to. He's always been the man of the house. Your mom didn't have to work, but she did that sometimes. And that's great if she didn't have to work. And they lived based on the lifestyle that he was able to provide. Depending upon what your needs, desires, and wants are, that could work. So who is this? I like using people's names. So Houston Queen. I don't know, I'm assuming you live in Houston. But if you wanted to live in a high-end neighborhood so that your kids are going to the better schools, you want to take, 3 vacations a year. You want to have new cars. If you want to have all these material things, and let's say the house is costing like $500,000-$600,000 or above, in order for you to have that, and then you still not contribute anything financially or only when you wanted to, then you need to find a man that's making like $200,000 a year. The other part of that is that you're also saying that the only way that a man, and maybe you're not, but the only way a man can be the man of the house is if he pays all the finances of the house. Paying bills does not equate leadership. Paying bills does not equate man. We was in this lounge yesterday, and part of the discussion we had, we brought up the idea of an alpha male, beta, Charlie, delta. Each level of those men can make six figures, but those levels of men are not leaders. Oh, I'm sorry. If I misquoted you, my apologies. I didn't say that, and that was in quotes. Oh, my apologies. If you didn't mean it that way, my apologies. I do not mind being corrected, or if I'm wrong about something, I don't mind that. But let me stick there for a second, because even though you didn't mean that, Houston Queen, I have heard women say that the only way the man can be a man of the house is if he pays the money, if he pays more, if he makes more, because they go to the old idea of he who makes the gold makes the rules. And I actually have some women who come in here who say that if the man ain't making more money than her, then he can't tell her nothing. And that is unfortunately, that is a popular mentality that some people have. The character of a man, my guy Wiles is a military man. Military people don't make a whole bunch of money, right? And it's really shameful at the higher ranks of staff sergeants and above, because you're in charge of things that civilians are making twice, if not three times as much money as you're making, but you have to be more of a leader than they have to be, right? If the man, and whatever works for the relationship, but I'm speaking from a successful relationship, 50 years, and that's great. And in simpler times, it is easier to do that. In today's world, most people will balk at the idea of living off of one income, especially if today the average American makes $54,000 a year. The average Black American makes less than that. I think the average Black American makes like 36 or something like that a year. If you took that into the account, that the average Black American makes $36,000 a year, now I know that plenty of people make way more than that, but if you took that into account, how you doing, man? Y'all give me a second.
What's that?
Not much, man.
The court refill things.
The court refill things.
What you sold me?
Oh, the cigar?
Cigar, yeah.
You talking about the little
rubber piece.
The rubber pieces?
Yeah.
Y'all give me 5 minutes or less. How you been holding up, man?
Yeah, good, man.
You stealing my stuff, man.
Pick it off.
Not for the refill.
Yeah.
You just need the plastic refill, right?
Yeah.
No, they're very inexpensive. If I lose my audience because of you, I'm gonna fight you.
Right?
Uh-huh.
You make the money either way it goes.
I think my system is moving up real quick. Now, you know, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I do a podcast, and usually I do it until people start walking in. You know, maximum 12 noon. Well, minimum 12 noon, but once people start walking in, I tend to end it. But you just come and grab this card holder kit and sleeves. So it's gonna be 7:42.
Come back.
I don't like you either.
I mean, you know how hard it is to get over this side of town? I'm trying to go there for 2 weeks.
Sound like excuses, sir.
No, for real.
1484. Sound like excuses.
They have me up in Gainesville and Whitensville here.
Sir, people do what's important to you.
And by the time I get off, they'll let them close.
I open at 12 noon, sir.
You know what time I started?
I want to hear your
I started at 9, sir.
I'm open 7 days a week, sir.
Okay. That's what you went down to do. Yeah, I see what you talking about. I know 3 of us.
I understand.
Appreciate it, boss.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Thank you guys for being patient. Yeah, that's how this goes. After a certain time frame, after 12 people can walk in. If people start walking in and sitting down, then of course, I shut it down at that point. Depending on who walks in, though, actually. So I might have missed some commentary, but yeah. So even though I misunderstood what Houston Queen was saying, I will say this. I will continue with the narrative that just because a man makes a certain amount of money doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a good leader, nor should he be the head of a household. We were discussing the different levels of manhood yesterday here in the lounge, and we have some men who think that they are alphas, but they're not, and they're not good leaders of a household. Yet they could be making more money, and they could be making the majority of the money. They could be making the majority of the money, but still not be a good leader. There are, especially if it's a Charlie male. You got a Charlie male is somebody who thinks that they're an alpha, but they're very selfish. They're narcissistic. They're all about themselves, and they actually will make some bad decisions. But that dude can make some money. I used to train a couple. Her husband was a pure, straight up Delta. Straight Delta, yes, man, whatever you want, dear, not aggressive, but because he went to the college he went to got him into a good company, and he just got promoted just because he was there, right? He had longevity, and the guy was making about $180,000 a year, but he was not a leader. Although he paid for, he made like 170, 180. His wife made like 70. So he paid for everything, but that woman ran all over him, did whatever she wanted to do. And their relationship was horrible. I am convinced that man had a whole nother family in another state because he couldn't really deal with her mentality. He was not the head of that household, even though he made the most money. To me, a good leader in a household would be a man who can say, regardless of how much money I make, you make, if we have that emotional, spiritual, mental connection, we are coming together to build for a lifetime. And and at some points I may make more than you. At some points you may make more than me. But finances is never going to be a problem, because here's a financial plan that keeps us together as a unified force financially, so that it doesn't affect our emotions, it doesn't affect our spirituality, it doesn't affect our sensuality, it doesn't affect any of those things, because we are practicing unity and not practicing separation. And it doesn't, and who makes money doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. The person is what should matter. Wiles is back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm back. Good old Swamp Legion, but we ain't here. What you're saying, man, is so powerful, because too many people are self, me, and I, right?
Right.
They're focused on self-preservation, but they want to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to relate to somebody on a level in which it benefits them, but is it mutually beneficial to the next person, right?
Right.
Imagine a corporate Marine standing in front of a platoon and saying, hey, I'm going to march you down to the chow hall and we're going to get the chow. But halfway down the march, corporate turns around, walks to his car, and gets his brown bag. Not mutually beneficial, right?
Right.
As a leader, you abandon that person. You abandon that person when you start.
Boy, that Camp Lejeune.
Me, myself, what I can do and what this person can do, right? What we can do as a collective. You know what I mean? Like, what can we do as a collective? How can we build? What me and you working and bringing our finances together, how does that get us ahead, right? A lot of women are not thinking like that today because of narratives that are being pushed. Girl, you better go out there, you better get your master's degree, you better get that 120, 130, 140,000. So now, you as a woman, you're out there, you're successful, but what is the relativity of your success? When you don't have a family and you don't have that legacy that you're going to be able to pass down. And I'm not even talking about it in a spiritual sense. I'm just talking about it like naturally. Like, you're not passing down a legacy. If you're having children, out of wedlock with no protection and no covering from from a father or a husband, like where you're not passing down a very good legacy, and I don't think they see that.
Right, and a lot of people don't see that that's not what they're creating. And somebody just said something about a legacy. Women do not have to pay for a man's legacy. The legacy, see, that's the thing, is you're not paying for a man's legacy. It is the legacy of both of y'all. Let's dispense with this idea that last names create legacy. Bloodlines is a legacy. I have daughters. They will, if they get married, they take somebody else's last name, but they are still my daughters. Any children from them will still be my grandkids, and so on and so forth. So those kids are still my legacy. They're still their mother's legacy. Legacy is everybody in your family down the line, no matter what names they are. If you go to a Rothschild meeting, most of the people there, last names is not Rothschilds, right? And as far as the money is concerned, money should not be relevant to the conversation of building a family as to who is making what, right? Oh, did you say women don't have legacy, Wiles?
No, I never said that.
Oh.
I never said that.
Okay.
I never said that. I said that they are not leaving a good legacy by not ensuring that they're teaching their offspring and ensuring that the man in which they're having an offspring with is a husband to protect their legacy.
Right.
Not his or her, their legacy.
Their legacy, exactly. Now, my guy Arrow, Energy over here on YouTube, he just asked, what consists of a good male leader? And I'm glad that you're on here because I know what I would say, but I'm going to assume you're going to say some of the same things. I wish that the 14 traits of leadership were taught beyond just the military and beyond Marines, right? But I've always deemed that the pillars of leadership and the traits of leadership, do they still teach JJ did tie buckle? Wow.
They still teach that in tie buckle. When I was a drone trucker, I definitely did push it.
Right. So JJ did tie buckles is a acronym that we use in the Marine Corps to exhibit what leadership traits are. I'm going to mess some of them up because I'm not going to do it exactly how JJ did tie buckle. Do you know it right off the whip?
Don't worry.
It's justice.
Not anymore, man.
Okay.
Years, but I know exactly what you. Yep.
But it's things like, and there are pillars of leadership, but there's traits are justice, integrity, judgment, tactfulness, dedication, dependability. I already said integrity. I'm gonna die because my son went to the Air Force and I just sent him these things like a month or so ago. But just look up 14 leadership traits of the Marine Corps and you'll find what those traits are. Those are the traits. There are pillars that is like honor, courage, and commitment. Every man should have honor, courage, and commitment to do the right thing, even when nobody is looking. To be committed to your family, to be committed to your job and your, we say country as well, but to hell with that. But I just say that part because I'm leaving America. But to be an honorable man, to do what's right, but also to know yourself and seek self-improvement, to give instructions clearly, so that everybody can follow them correctly. And then when they're not followed correctly, to know how to correct people properly, because I'm not always right. I haven't always been right. To be able to take that criticism and then restructure, reprogram so that it functions better for your family. And that's one thing a false male leader, a Charlie male would do so importantly. So he would do is not be able to take criticism, not be able to take responsibility. Accountability is one of those things, not be able to take accountability for his actions or the actions of his family. If you were to ask anybody who knows me personally, anytime something went to the south, went left in a business or a household or anything, any decision that was made, I always took accountability, even if it was her idea. Her and I may know that it was her idea, but as far as anybody on the outside world, it was my decision. I made that decision. I'm taking all accountability and responsibility for anything that happened negatively, because I'm always going to protect my spouse or my lady from the negativity of the outside world. You get yourself a Charlie male and something goes wrong. Oh, you know what? It went wrong because she did, and she did, and she did, and she did. He's always looking to blame somebody else instead of taking on that responsibility. And even if it's the truth, I don't care. Anybody who's been with me, as long as she doesn't come out and try to drag my name through the mud, she has never done wrong as far as anybody else is concerned. She is.
She shouldn't.
Right.
She should. That's what leadership is.
She is on a pedestal. Right. Exactly. And you're a Christian man, so that's what the Bible also tells, that men, you got to cover your wife, that you provide a covering for her, just as her hair is a covering. So you have to cover your wife. You have to cover your family. You take all that responsibility, but you have to be able to lead them safely and securely, make sound decisions in a timely manner, and act on those decisions in a timely manner, and always look for correction. So those are just some of the things. I still take and keep those ideas from the Marine Corps. My grandfather also taught similar things like that to me. I didn't grow up with my father, but I had my grandfather and I had some uncles. But those things make up a good man. And one of the most important things that also makes up a good male leader is a man who knows how to nurture his family and his wife and his children. These guys who are always rough and hard all the damn time, that's not a good male lead. That's not a good male leadership trait. You have to know how to hug and love on and comfort and have sympathy and empathy for your wife and your children. Otherwise, you cannot lead them. You can only boss them around. Right. So those are just.
Hey, bro, I'm gonna give you the what's the name? I'm gonna give you the traits real quick.
Give them to me.
In order. Justice, judgment, dependability, integrity, decisiveness, tact, initiative, endurance, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and enthusiasm. JJ did top buckle. I may not always remember them, but I try my best to live by each one of those on a consistent basis. And then when I'm wrong, I can accept the responsibility of being corrected. Right. And that makes up a good leader. That is what an alpha male really is. Not this bullshit about money. You notice nothing that you said, none of those traits deals with who makes the most money, who pays the household bills. Has nothing to do with any of those things. It's all about leading the family. Because I was talking about a gentleman earlier who his wife became a doctor while he was a basketball coach, but that man still led his family. And he led his family in that vein of JJ did Ty Buckle. And they have a beautiful relationship. Their kids have grown up to be productive kids because they're all in college now. But he led his family, and money never played a part in it. Anytime it did, it's because of outside influences. Other men talk to, man, how you gonna sit there and let your wife, you a house husband? Like, dude, he's a basketball coach. She became and I believe she became a neurosurgeon. She's a neurosurgeon. What the hell is wrong with y'all? You gonna tell her to stay home while he go and he so that he can be a basketball coach? No. And even if he still went out and worked, now look at the stresses, because her job is stressful. He's being a basketball coach at a high school is stressful because all the hours you got to put in. Who's raising those kids? So he just made the better decision for his family. She always wanted to be a doctor. He didn't stop her from accomplishing what she wanted to do. He would have been a Charlie male if he was like, nah, I don't want you to be a doctor because I don't want you making more money than me. And I'm the man and I got to be the man. I got to make more money. That's stupid. That's dumb. Being able to support your spouse and have them chase their dreams,
yes,
it's so important. That's part of being a good leader. That's part of being a good husband. That's part of being a good man. It's knowing that, hey, each and every one of us have been blessed with talents and different abilities. So, hey, I'm going to be a good steward to you. Go and get
And that's
and love and respect.
And that was a key word, being a good steward. Being a good, when I was Christian, a lot of people miss out on that lesson about the three servants who were given money. The lesson about the stewards, right? The three servants were given money, right? One went out and he, like tripled the money. The second one doubled the money, and the other one buried the money, right? Now, one part that I've never really heard anybody preach about is that when the master came back and saw the steward who had buried the money, who did he give the bag of money that the one who buried money, who did he give that money to?
The one that went out and tripled his money.
Exactly. But in our mentality today, people would say that, oh, he should have took that bag and spread it amongst the two of them. Why? You give it to the one who did the best with it. That's being a good steward. So if your spouse has a desire to be in a field and that field just happens to have more value in the marketplace, roll with that spouse. Don't try to say, well, I gotta have the parity, or I gotta make more because a man this and a man gotta have the money. Hell no, that's been a bad steward. I used to tell guys all the time when we in the cigar lounge, we always ask the question, some people ask the question like, could you be with a woman that makes more money than you? I've always been like, hell yes, I sure could, because it won't matter, because it's all going in one pot.
It won't matter to me.
And then I know that I'm going to go out and make right, and I know I'm gonna go out and make some money. Then I know what kind of money I want to make for my lifestyle. So please let her go make more money than me, because then we really gonna be able to build something. Because I know where I need to be, and if she's up here, especially now, see you got small kids. My kids grown. I ain't got to worry about them jokers like you got to, but it's just a totally different scenario.
So real quick, I'm gonna give you the leadership traits real quick, and these are all characteristics of a good male or female leader. These are all characteristics of good leaders. But in this case, we're talking about what makes a good husband or a good leader of a husband. All right? Be tactically and technically proficient. Yep. Know what it is that you want, know what it is, how to do it. And if you don't, go out there and learn how to do it.
Exactly.
Know your people and look out for their welfare. Know your spouse, know your children, look out for them, make sure that you can defend their honor, make sure that you can protect them, and support them if need be. Keep your people informed. Keep them informed. Talk to them, have meetings. Set a family budget. Let everybody know what the family bank is, if you have one. What the family budget is, how you relate to money. All of those things is important to have a conversation about. The next one is for you to set the example. That goes without saying. Be professional, be confident, have courage, have integrity. High personal standards for yourself and for your family. Ensure that if there is a task or anything that's given out in the family to be done, that it is supervised and accomplished. Right?
Right.
If you have children, raise your children as a team. Be a family that is a team. The next one is to make sound and timely decisions. Please do. Because if you make the wrong decision, they can end up bankrupting your family or put your family in a world of hurt.
I've done that one.
Develop a sense of responsibility among your family. Every member of the family needs to have some level of responsibility. Give tasks to people after in your family knowing their capabilities and or inabilities. Seek responsibility, and take responsibility.
Man.
Those are it. Even
though I only got to spend 8.5 years in the Marine Corps, I used to have those up in my kids' room. We used to talk about those. And even after me and their mom separated, I still maintained that when they came to my house, they still had that up in their room. We still talked about it. I still let them know everything that was going on based on their degree of understanding, of ability to understand. You'll be able to, Purposely Divine Life, you'll be able to see all of that again on my YouTube page. My YouTube page is a little different. It's called Why I Left Religion by Coach Renz. So it's a little different. But I'll make another video for this particular TikTok going over everything that Wiles just said, because I truly believe that regardless of any disagreements we may have with anything else in the Black community, this is where we need to agree. This is where we need to have come into understanding, because without leadership that goes in those direction, that follows those understandings and those characteristics and those traits, we can never build our communities. You know, like literally, Wiles, you should think about it. You could probably make a living after the Marine Corps teaching that in the formation of a family. You know, using those things to teach.
Absolutely, man. What's the name? I used to mentor when I was in New York. I used to mentor the kids that played football at the JUCO college when I was stationed in New York on I&I duty. And the things that I would teach to the football team were literally the Marine Corps traits and principles.
Yeah. And
the coach was like, man, you get these guys to do things, you get these guys to say things, to dress a certain way and do a certain thing, and you don't even have to be forceful with them, and it gets done. I told him, I said, all you have to do is show them the way. They know when I show up, I have my whistle in my hand at 4:15. At 4:15, I have my whistle in my hand. I'm already dressed and I'm ready for sprint. I'm not going to go looking for them and say, hey, let's go do sprint. I'm already out there. I'm doing sprint. Join me, fellas. Let's go. Let's do this together. Setting the example.
Setting an example. And that's actually what we need to do in our community, if we really want to, because all of those, if we really want to build families, and even in building generational wealth, we follow those things, we lead our families that way, and we build that. And if you got a spouse, if both spouses are in that mentality and recognizing who's better equipped at everything, you know, in each individual thing, you build an incredibly strong structure. When, like for me, I hate paying bills. That's why when I set up the finances, I don't actively pay them. I give those to those. That's my wife. That, you know, she was better at paying the bills than I am. So here's the accounts. You pay them. You make sure. I just want to come in the house and the lights are on. Open the refrigerator and there's food in there. You know, that sort of thing. But it goes to just knowing the capabilities of myself and knowing the capabilities of my spouse, and being able to say that you're better at actually handling the finances on a day-to-day. You handle them. And what's crazy is that even for some of the women that I've talked to that disagree with my form of budgeting because they want to keep their money for themselves and that sort of thing, I literally show them that you realize I'm basically giving you all my money. You know, so you have yours, you know, yours is in there and mine is in there, and you have the control of it. And I'm going to trust you that you're going to manage everything correctly and do everything correctly. And anytime I've had that, my life has actually been better because it's not on me. I'm too busy worrying about this cigar lounge, or depending upon what business, because after the Marine Corps, I think I had a corporate job for like 3 seconds. So I've worked for myself since pretty much since 99. I'm worried about that. I'm working on that. I'm focused on that. I don't want to come home and also have to focus on the electric bill, the power bill, you know. And, you know, I don't know if you remember, but before this internet thing, you had to write checks and all that stuff. I was late. It was plenty. It wasn't even like I ain't had the money. I just don't like paying electric bill. I think electricity should be free. You know, so I was bad at it. So I gave it to them because I recognize you're better at this. You handle this. You can do this better than I can. Things that need to be taken care of around the house, you know, we discussed it as to what needs to be done. But as far as if you want me to call these people because I'm running this business, I'm probably going to call them later than you want me to. So call them. You call. You know, giving that person that responsibility because they're just better at it. You know, and the things that I'm better at, I handle, I take care of. And that way we're both, now it's not a situation, true. I've never been with, you know, I'm not going to be with a woman who's domineering at all. who's trying to, have a penis, I'm not dealing with a woman like that, because then it's gonna be combative as hell. But even though she is submissive, I'm still giving her a lot of control and command and control. She has a lot of command and control, and she gets to exert that. Yeah, and like for the house, I love the saying: men get the house, but the woman makes it a home. I got one room in the house I care about the most, and that is my meditation room. The rest of the house, I don't really care what she does. How she's decorated, what it got in it. You handle that. This is your house. It's our house, but you make this our home. I'm not. If I try to make it a home, it's gonna be a man's home. There ain't gonna be hardly no furniture in that dang old thing.
I got one spot in the house, man. I got one spot in the house, and I tell my youngest, don't go into my office.
Yep.
Unless I set them in there to grab something, right? Because my office, like on my desk, I got counseling forms and stuff like that. Because I'm at the division now. I'm a supply guy by trade now. I used to be a grunt, but never mind that.
3043 or 3051.
Man, I got both MOS.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, I started as 0311, and then somebody tricked me into being a 3051 monitor. That didn't work out for me, so I lap moved again within a year and a half and became a 43, but we're not going to talk about that.
All right.
Right now, I'm the division analyst for all of the 18 2nd Marine Division units here on Camp Lejeune.
Mm-hmm.
I analyze all of their accounts before they go through phase modes and all that good stuff. But that space in my house, that's my space. You know what I mean? Like, it's our home, but that's my space. Like, I sit there, I can meditate there, I can read my word, I can do what I need to do in my office. My kids, they got their room, they got the whole rest of the house. My wife, she got the whole rest of our home and, fully furnished and decorated how she wants it. And I appreciate that, because, brother, if I had to do it, everything being there red and gold. If I had to do it,
hard charger.
Red and gold. You know what I'm saying? Like, so my son, he got one of my plaques in his room that I got from the depot. It said there's no me without discipline, and there's no Marine Corps without discipline.
Right, there isn't. And
so you have to be disciplined in so many areas. And a lot of the issues we're facing today, man, is just due to a lack of discipline.
Very much so.
A lack of discipline in most men, because they're not disciplined enough to focus on one woman, right? They're not disciplined enough to focus on their family. They're not disciplined enough to want.
Oh, his phone just cut out again. But he's absolutely right.
Oh,
there you go. You back.
Oh, hey, I'm here. What's the name? But it puts you in a situation where if you are learning skills and you're, empowering yourself, it puts you in a situation that if you were to lose a job, you can then run a business for yourself. You can create something, right? And so now, if corporate America says, "Hey, bro, don't come back. You got this PTSD or you got whatever going on, and we don't want you here." Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I can file an LLC with a state register, and I can start me a legitimate business, whether it be motivational speaking or counseling, or doing a logistic type business where I go get a truck or a box truck or whatever, and I can deliver freight for people on my own time, on my own dime, doing it, and I'm making the money that I want to make and not being controlled by nobody. Making my own hours. So now, let's say my wife has a doctor appointment and I got to go get my kids or do whatever, I have that flexibility to do that.
Right.
But if I am tied to corporate America and I have no skills outside of what I learned in a university classroom, I'm not where I need to be for my family. I'm not improving myself. I'm not seeking self-improvement. And that's a dangerous place to be. Comfort is a dangerous drug. A lot of men get real comfortable in America.
And I'm gonna tell you, brother, when you get out the military, because I had the hardest adjustment I had coming out of the Marine Corps is the fact that most people do not know themselves, neither are they seeking self-improvement. They don't have the discipline that you and I are accustomed to. And one of the aspects of that discipline that a leader of a family definitely needs to have, both leaders of the family need to have, is the discipline to be patient. because we're in a fast food society. Everybody wants everything fast. If it takes too long for them to receive some result, most civilian people don't have the discipline to have the patience to build towards it. When I first got out and I got a house here in Atlanta, because I wasn't going to supersede the budget that we were on, everybody was like, man, you can get this car, you can get that car, you know, all this kind of stuff. I was like, no, we got 2 used cars. As we grow financially, because I don't know how life is going to treat me now that I've gotten out, I need to see how life treats me financially before I go out and buy anything new other than this house. Because taking care of the house is the most important thing. Taking care of the family, our ability to get around, that's the most important thing. Having a shiny new car is not. You know, having the biggest house, the newest new construction, that is not. And I watched other people who didn't have patience go out there, get these houses, and then when the bubble burst and the housing market crashed, they was rooming at my house because they didn't have the patience to see how things go or to build. And they didn't have the discipline to be able to walk that line. And a lot of men don't have the discipline to be able to tell their spouses no. Like, no is a very important word. But like you said, with the characteristics, to be able to say no, but give the reasoning behind the no so that there's an understanding. And then what is the plan to progress so that that no can become yes? To be able to do that. And people,
you always want to get the yes. You always want to get the yes. However, it has to be a laid out foundation that everyone understands. Hey, if this happens, these are the ramifications. These are the first, second, and third order of effects. If this happens now, right? If this happened at this time, we can do this, this, and this, and so on and so forth. So that way, everybody has an understanding, and no one is in the dark. No one feels disrespected or unheard.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, because you said no, now I'm butthurt about it because you said no. No, honey, I'm saying no because we can't afford $60,000, vacation or, or a log cabin or whatever it is that you want right now. However, in 2 years after we collect the rent from these 3 properties, we can buy it outright and don't have to finance it.
Right. And having that kind of patience. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right.
And you have to, and unfortunately, and hopefully I don't want you to ever get divorced, man. Don't ever get divorced, because when you're my age and you out there and you looking, you'll find that a lot of people don't have that, and you have to teach it because they've been burnt by this guy, been burnt by that guy. This guy burnt them, and then you coming in, you shouldn't have to deal with the burn, but you do. This is insulting. This is going to be insulting to some women. But when I got divorced in 2008, I used to call by 2009, I was calling women burnt toast because I grew up, with my grandma, we put the toaster oven was up under the grill. And if you left it in there too long, it burns. There was no timer. So you had to scrape that burn off. And I felt like I had to scrape this burn off of so many people because in my mid-30s, majority of the women that I came in contact with had already been in relationships. They already got burnt by this dude, burnt by that dude. So I was scraping off this burnt toast because I definitely had a Marine mentality about how to live and how to have a family. And, but I felt like I had to teach them how to let go of some of the burn, how to be patient, how to have discipline, how to communicate, effectively and clearly and effectively. I had to go through a whole bunch of that stuff back then. Thankfully now in 51, most of the women that I've dealt with, I'm in a relationship now, I don't have to do all of that. I don't have to teach because I just don't even give time. If I see that you already burnt up like that, I just walk away. I'm too old to be playing around trying to teach somebody right now. But that type of leadership, like that's what I taught my son.
It's hard.
Yeah. Now my son just went to the Air Force.
I'm telling you right now.
And one of the things I taught him before he left, especially before he left, like 6 months leading before he left, I try to teach them, look, you're not going to encounter the same type of people that I did when I first went in back in 90. They're going to be different. They've grown up differently. You are going to have to teach, more than likely. You're going to have to teach whomever you encounter all the different things that I have taught you. All the different things you learn from your mom as well. You're going to have to teach somebody how to come into unity with you with identifying with these leadership traits and characteristics, so that y'all can have a better life, and you don't make some of the mistakes that, hopefully you don't make some of the mistakes that I made, so that you can, not have to go through divorce, because I don't want anybody to ever go through that. But yeah, those are some of the things that I had to teach you.
I've said that to so many people, man. People
How you
come
doing,
in and say, "Oh, me and my old lady, we on the rock."
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me and my old lady, we on the rock.
We do a daily deal where
divorce,
you pick
and
up
I'm
4, you
pleading,
can get 1 free.
and I'm pleading with these people, man, and I'm pleading with them. I'm saying, please, man, try to make it work. If you can make it work, try to make it work. Because early on in my life, when I was a younger, I went through a divorce, and I know what that does to a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you lose a lot.
Oh,
going through that problem.
Yeah. And that's the whole goal of this particular channel that I've set up on TikTok, Facebook, and is to help people so that they don't go through that you can start a relationship with. Good. Hey, I'm sorry. Somebody just said hi from Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta as well. I have a cigar lounge in Stone Mountain called Smoking Phoenix.
I'm gonna come see you, man. I'm gonna come see you.
I hear you.
I'm coming out that way. I'm coming out that way in late June, early July. I'm moving out that way.
Oh, let me know. Wait, do you smoke cigars?
All the time.
Oh, you got to come see me then, man. It's called, the cigar lounge is called Smoking Phoenix Cigars.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be what's the name? I'm gonna be the Philly neighborhood recruiter. I don't know if I'm going to Stone Mountain. I don't know if I'm going to McDonough. I don't know if I'm going to Hiram. I don't know where I'm going.
Well, if you're going to Stone Mountain, that's where my cigar lounge is at. It's in Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to get off here. I know Brick Squad, who's here in Atlanta, just got on here, but we, I got a customer in the background, so and it's about 2:00. So I appreciate you being on here, Wiles. I do this every Wednesday, 10 o'clock until we talk about relationships on this channel. Okay. So I appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you again. I appreciate everybody else too. So y'all have a great day.
Hey, whenever you get on, just share it live with me, and I'll try to jump on with you.
Okay. I'll have to figure out. I'll remember. I'll come on and I'll follow you so that I can do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right. Sure.
So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey. Good vibration. See y'all next Wednesday on this channel. And for YouTube, I will see you guys tomorrow. Got a couple of different things that we're going to talk about. I haven't figured out which one we're going to talk about yet, but I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Have a great one.